us here. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the agenda for the public hearing regarding proposed FY2024 budget for City of Mount Rainier for this Tuesday, April 18, 2023. This is the virtual hearing starting at 7:02 p.m. We're going to do a call to order. Valerie Woodall. Valerie?
I'm still here. Thank you.
Jimmy Tarlow?
Yeah.
Luke Chesek?
Here.
Jared Stofus?
I'm here.
All right, so we have a full quorum. Thank you guys so much. We'll do a review of the agenda. Jared, can you please go ahead and read through it?
Absolutely. Agenda for the public hearing regarding proposed FY 2024 budget, City of Mount Rainier, Tuesday, April 18th, virtual hearing, 7 p.m. Number 1, call to order. Number 2, review of the agenda. Number 3, public hearing regarding the proposed fiscal year 2024 budget. Number 4, adjournment.
Thank you so much. Any changes towards this public hearing agenda, Council? I need to know. If not, let me know so that way we move as presented. You guys could just put your thumbs up if you guys want. So Jared, we're good. Jimmy, we're good. Luke and Valerie, good with the agenda? All right. So I'm seeing shaking of heads, so I'll take that as a yes. All right, so moving on to item number 3, public hearing regarding proposed fiscal year 2024 budget. At this time, members of the communities could give us their feedback on the proposed fiscal year 2024 budget. We ask that it sticks to the 2024 budget. You have 3 minutes as a member of community to speak. State your piece. If you're part of a collected group, you have 5 minutes, and that means that you are a recognized member of the group, and the rest of the members will not be seated at the floor. All right, so saying that, we always ask to have the rules of decorum followed, please. All right, and once we say time, we usually let you wrap up your sentence, but please don't take advantage of that. It's gonna be a long night for all of us. So if we have any members of the public here for the public hearing, please type on your chat your name, your last name, your block and street number so we could call upon you. We also are transmitting through Facebook as well. You could also put your question there and I'll read it. If you just want me to read your question, I could always, or your statement, you could always put read and we'll go ahead and read it. But if I see your name and last name, I will call upon you for any remarks that you have. So at this point, I'm opening the floor for any members of the public that have any comments regarding the fiscal year 2024 budget. Okay, I have Melvin Sanchez. Melvin, can you please let us know your block and street number, please? Melvin, if you're speaking, your mic might be muted because we cannot hear you.
Good evening. My name is Melvin Sanchez. This is regarding 4414 31st Street.
1 second, Mr. Sanchez. This is just regarding the fiscal year budget. Does it has to do with something that we could do regarding the budget?
This is to talk about the presentation.
Oh. That's the next meeting. So we'll finish this budget hearing and then we'll go to you, okay? I think your item number, Melissa, what number item is Mr. Sanchez on? Can you move the next agenda? So give us a few more minutes.
Number 3.
You're number 3 on the meeting that's following this one, okay? So just give us a few more minutes and we'll jump into the next meeting under the same link. So if you could hold on just a little bit, okay?
So, okay, do you want me get off this meeting? And
No, you could be on it. You could be on this one, it's fine.
Okay.
So this might finish if nobody's making a comment, it might finish within the next minute, but it's the same link, so you're fine.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
All right, perfect, thank you. All right, anything on Facebook, Jared? Okay, so we have about 18 people on the right now with us, so I'm hearing no comments. All right, so I'll give it 1 more minute. And if I hear nothing, we will move on to adjournment and we will start our scheduled work session. And the work session will follow the budget work session. So we have 3 meetings today, basically the hearing, a regular work session for the mayor council, and a work session from the budget. So to my colleagues, keep that in mind as we make comments on the second meeting. All right. All right, I'm going to leave it to 7:08 and then I'll close the public hearing, okay? It is 7:08 and there is no member of the public that wishes to speak, nothing on Facebook neither. So I will move on to item number 4, adjournment of the public hearing regarding the proposed budget FY2024. Can I have a motion on the floor, please?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Seconded.
You guys are delaying there. It's been properly moved and second. Any discussion? Objections, abstentions, hearing none. The public hearing, this public hearing for FY24 budget is officially closed, okay? And we're moving on to our regular scheduled work session. And please do not leave us, because after the work session, we do have budget work session following as well, okay? So we're gonna go through this very important meeting and then followed by the next one. Okay, so agenda work session, the mayor and council, the city of Morelia, this is a virtual work session for Tuesday, April 18, 2023. And it started following the public hearing. So I'm gonna call to order Jared Stolpes.
Here.
Luchesik. Luke.
Here.
Valerie Woodall.
I'm here.
Jimmy Tarlow.
Here.
And myself. So that is all members of mayor and council are present for this meeting. The meeting is being called to order at 7:10 p.m. We're gonna move to item number 2, review of the agenda. Vice Mayor, can you please go ahead and review the agenda?
Absolutely, Mayor Benitez. The agenda of the work session of Mayor and City Council, City of Mount Rainier virtual work session, Tuesday, April 18th, 2023, following the public hearing. Items for discussion, number 1, call to order. Number 2, review of the agenda. Number 3, presentation discussion on billing application for 4414 31st Street. Number 4, presentation discussion on the Mount Rainier 20th anniversary of being a tree city. Number 5, Arbor Day Proclamation. Number 6, presentation discussion on amending the codes, Chapter 7, licenses and permits, municipal infractions, 20 minutes. Number 7, discussions or recommendations to the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, appointments to the Maryland Mount Rainier Legacy Mixed Use Town Center Committee. ARPA discussion and update. Presentation of minutes and adjournment.
Thank you so much. Council, you have heard a fair reading of the agenda. Is there anything you wish to add or delete of this agenda as it stands? Please let me know. Okay, Luke, you're good?
Yeah, can you scroll down a little bit? Sorry, further.
You just said you're good and you said scroll down. No take backs. Go on. How far do you want her to go?
Just keep going a little bit. Sorry, I just want to see all the ARPA. Yep, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Jared, we're good?
Yep, for me.
Perfect. Valerie?
Yep, I'm good.
Jimmy?
Fine.
All right, perfect. I think that moving forward, what I'll do is like Vice Mayor, once you read it, you have the first, you're good with what you read, okay? All right, so we could expedite this part. All right, so we have an approved agenda. There has been no changes made to this agenda. It is approved as presented. All right, so moving on to item number 3, presentation discussion on building application. Oh, sorry, I have a little bit of 4414 31st Street in Mount Rainier. So I'm going to open the floor first to Alma, Director of Code Enforcement. Alma, good evening. Nice seeing you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, City Manager. Thank you for having us here today. We're here to actually do a presentation for Mr. Sanchez. He's giving a presentation on his project 4414 31st Street. And as you know, this is going to be a new single family home that's going to be constructed.
Okay. Anything else we need to know, Alma? Any concerns on your end or things we have to flag?
No, there are no concerns. I know that we've been following up with Public Works regarding some trees. So that's been handled as well. So there are no concerns on this side.
And did they have to go to the design review board for anything?
No. So it was something that was approved by the county and it did not need any other approvals from a variance or anything.
All right, perfect. And just as an important information, they will go to the design review board if there's a variance petition. I mean, they can always ask them, but that's usually the priority of the design review board to make sure they're able to look at the plans and it stays within the character of the community. And they're a great group collectively working on behalf of the city, and they usually recommend to the city if there's if should we approve or not the petition, or if there's any concerns themselves, they'll let us know. All right, perfect. So Mr. Sanchez, you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, so now the floor is yours. Tell us a little bit about what are you gonna be doing and how wonderful the city of Rainier is. Go ahead.
Well, we're planning to build our own house there. It's 4,300 square feet home. We plan to do there, and basically basement has going to be 2 bedrooms with a small kitchenette. First floor will have an office, 1 car garage, dining room, and a powder room, and a kitchen, and a family room. And second floor will basically have like 3 bedrooms, and attic will have 1 bedroom with an office.
Okay, anything else you want us to know?
Really, on my end,
if it's nothing, it's fine.
You guys can,
okay.
Basically, if we can get this building permit approved ASAP, so we can get start construction, because we've been anxious to get this going. We've been waiting so long to PG County to approve this building permit on their end, and we wasn't aware that required a second building permit on Mount Rainier. So this is kind of new for us.
Yeah, we usually require the people to present, so that way we know what's going on and the neighbors know what's going on. So I'm going to open it up to the council, but I see Nathan. You would like to speak and say regarding this presentation, is that what it is? Any information that we need to know before we have council speak, or you want to wait after council?
I'd rather wait until last, go after council and any other neighbors who want to speak.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Nathan. I just wanted to make sure if there's something key that you need us to know, especially because you do represent one of our committees. It's important to hear from you as well. All right, council. I'm gonna start with Ward 2. Valerie, Jared, go ahead.
I don't think I have any questions about this at this time. I think, thank you for building housing in our city, and I hope it goes well.
Jared, thank you, Valerie. Go ahead.
Yep. No, thank you for coming to the city, and appreciate you coming before council and talking through your project. Luke, there's some rules in the city you need to follow. There's some additional requirements on top of the county in terms of when you can work, what times of day, noise, and and avoiding runoff. Luca Chesek, who follow me, does often a much better job at detailing those, so I'll defer to him on those. But you want to make sure that you do realize there are some requirements that the city has on top of the county in terms of working with trees and other things. So I just make sure you're working with Alma, our co-director, on those. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Jared. Melissa, can you move it up to what it looks like from the outside? Then I'm gonna go over to, I guess I'm gonna go to Luke and then Jimmy. Luke will give you what we refer to very dearly as the Brian Netler lecture. Do's and don'ts for the city. Go on. We need to have trademark that thing now. Go on.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just to some of the things that folks were referencing earlier. Don't start before 8 a.m. Don't work after 7 p.m. I think it is. Alma, correct me if I'm wrong on that. We also like that if there are trees, I don't know if there's any big trees on that lot. I think it might all be cleared now. But if there are, try to put orange fencing around it to protect the tree and try not to put heavy machinery on top of those roots. If you're digging up a lot of dirt, which I imagine you will, we try to keep that dirt away from the sidewalk where any runoff can just get onto the sidewalk and into the streets and into the stormwater drains. The red clay tends to, if there's a heavy rain, kind of create an orange creek that runs off pretty quickly into the stormwater drain. Be mindful of making sure it's not running off into other people's houses too next to it. So those are the few big things we just want you to warn about. I'm going to hold the rest of my comments. I'm sort of anxious to hear what Nathan and other neighbors have to say about the project itself. But I do thank you for doing business here in Mount Rainier. And then I'll wait to hear what others have to say. Thanks.
I was going to say your 3 minutes are up, so you have another option. Okay, Jimmy, go ahead.
I don't have anything to add.
Thank you so much. So, Nathan, you said you wanted to be the last from the neighbors, right? Correct? Or you want to go next?
Correct.
All right. So I have Matthew Granham. Matthew, can you let us know your block and street number? And you're next on the dock to speak.
Sure. Webster Street, 3101.
Perfect.
So I just, while I recognize that we need housing in our neighborhood and we need investment in our neighborhood, I would like to say I'm disappointed with the design of this house in that it doesn't fit the character of the local streets right around it. It is much larger than anything else within 5 or 6 houses, on the order of 3 times the square footage of the neighboring houses, and much bigger in presentation than the houses around it. And I'm just disappointed that there's no ability through the current code to address that situation. I'm also concerned that the initial plans for this identified this as a 2-family dwelling, and that there remains sort of a design that would allow easy conversion to a 2-unit dwelling, even though zoning does not allow that. And finally, I'm disappointed that there will be a large tree removed, apparently, on the property, a mature oak, I believe it is. And overall, I'm just disappointed that we don't have the tools to address what is sort of an out of character construction project in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Staff, if you could make like a little note so we could get to you guys at the end of this, so that way somebody else has any concerns or similar, they could be addressed as well. And then I have Mary Lee, do you want me to just read your question? Or you want to ask it? I see Alma answer it already.
No, Alma answered it. Thank you.
Okay, so the question was regarding the impervious surface fee that was applied to this property. The answer is yes. It was applied and paid already. All right, so anybody else from the community that would like us to speak? If not, Nathan, you're going to have the floor. Anything on Facebook, Jared? All right, so Nathan, the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Nathan Cederoth. For those that don't know, as context, I'm the chair of the Legacy Mixed Use Town Center Committee and vice chair of the city's Design Review Board, which reviews any projects that need a zoning variance and advises city and council on, or mayor and council on those matters. I'm not speaking officially for either of those groups, and I want to make that clear. I'm speaking for myself. First, I want to welcome Mr. Sanchez, and I'm going to be your across the street neighbor, and I look forward to you moving in, and I'm really glad this is going to get developed. And I have looked into the team that's developing this, including Mr. Sanchez's company, and it looks pretty top notch. They do good work, and I'm very excited about that. However, like Matt, I am concerned about the volume of the house. I really wish there was a way to save the oak. And in general, I wish that this house was more respectful of the design context that it's moving into. We here do think this city is special, and its physical form is part of that. And when we were in the committees that I serve on, advising on zoning and the creation of the NCAS, the overlay zone, where Mount Rainier gets to lay out some of its own standards, I think that we missed a couple beats, because a 3-story house of this type was something that we were explicitly trying to stay away from. The roof planes are designed to minimize the impact, which I appreciate, but that's only going to be to a certain degree. This house is going to be well over 10 feet taller than its neighbors, much deeper, cast the yards into shadow. It is 2 to 8 feet wider than most houses. And also in the NCAS, front-facing attached garages are not allowed. So if this was just a little bit later, that would not happen. So while I'm excited that we're going to get a quality house here, because we also know that just junk could have gotten put up, and I appreciate that that's not happening. I think there's been some talk on the committee, and we're going to try to take a look at ways in which we could clarify and hone the overlay zone, which is, after all, brand new. And I just wanted to put that on council's radar. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Nathan, and thank you for your work on 2 committees. And as well as the whole entire team, I think that definitely it was a big overtake to work and recommend in the city of Mount Rainier with you guys' guidance and help and support and work. Submitted a lot of recommendations, a lot. So in that list of a lot, if 1 or 2 things got missed, it's understandable, because I know we were one of the cities that put a lot of effort into it. And I think Brian mentioned somewhere between 60-80% of the recommendations we put forward were approved. It was a high number. So yeah, I mean, if this is definitely important, thank you guys for your commitment to continue making recommendations, so that way things as this are addressed. Okay. Regarding the Mr. Sanchez, are you planning on living here, or you're just building it and flipping it? Hello?
Yes, I'm planning to live. This is my own house.
This is your personal house.
Yes, my personal house.
Well,
And just to be clear, I am not building my own house. Basically, Robert Ransom, who's the contractor who's going to build the house.
all right, perfect. Thank you so much. That's what Nathan referred that, both things I had checked out. So I guess thank you for being part of this neighborhood. Luke read you the various multiple things. You also know that, how do you call it? Any guidance you need, Alma usually reads the whole entire thing to you guys when it comes to time to work or not. The council will be hearing quite a bit of calls, and the neighbors are not shy to call if you start work before the time or ending it after. So definitely make sure you stick to that. Regarding the tree, Alma, was this tree assessed, or is there something we need to know about this tree?
So all the trees were assessed by Matt, actually. I know Rocio was working together with Mr. Sanchez as well. Mm-hmm. So everything, is under the scope, and we did everything we could with the trees that are in the property.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Alma. And Rocio's pretty good at sending us the reports. So I've been in one of the continuous emails that she has sent. Okay, perfect. Nathan, yes, 100%. City residents, including several others on this call, put a lot of effort. 100% for that. And Mary Lee, this made a statement. A fee was paid for the protected tree removal. So I take that, Mary Lee, that the tree commission was also involved in and are aware of the situation, correct?
Yeah, I think it was Rocio or Gladys sent, I think it was today or yesterday, that the permit was granted and the fees were paid for the large tree on the property that's to be removed.
All right, perfect. I just wanted to make sure at this meeting we knew that you guys had the documents, the paperwork and everything went on it, because sometimes we hear important information, but want to make sure it was follow up. And thank you for being in the meeting, but also following up. So, and thank you for your work and the whole committee work as well. All right, Council, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to the next point. We're good. All right, Mr. Sanchez, thank you so much. And please, when I know it's your home, we look forward to seeing improvements in the city of Rainier, and welcome to our neighborhood. We have many committees that are great. So join any of the committees, and please register to vote as well. Want to make sure you're an active member of our community. All right.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us tonight. Alma, thank you so much as well for your help. And Rocio, I think you're here as well. Thank you for Rocio. You are here. I just realized that.
Good evening, Mayor. Yes.
Go ahead.
No, thank you. And thank you, Alma, for working collaboratively with Public Works on the tree situation. Just want to clarify, all the trees were assessed that, we're in the midst of the construction. The owner just wanted to prune most of the trees, but unfortunately one of the trees is going to be removed because the construction zone was too near too close to the trees. So it had to come down if the house was to come up. But everything was handled otherwise.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. I apologize for seeing I cannot always see you guys, but thank you for that. And thank you for information. So thank you both for working on it. I do have mentions. Thank you everyone from Robert Ransom as well. All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, thank you guys so much. So moving on to the next item, presentation discussion on Mount Rainier 20th anniversary of being a Tree City, USA. The Mayor Council is your presentation by Ms. Mary Lee Hunter, Chair of the Tree Commission. So Mary Lee, the floor is yours. Do you need screen share or do we have your presentation?
I do need screen share.
Okay, Melissa, can you make that happen, please?
Let's see. Okay. I have it. Let me just make sure I know how to do this. Okay, I'll do that. Can you guys see the slides?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Let's make sure it's in presentation mode. All right. Well, thank you for having me tonight. I just wanted to say a few words in acknowledgement of Arbor Day, which is Friday, April 28th. And this year we are celebrating 20 years as a Tree City USA through the Arbor Day Foundation. So it's a big milestone we want to acknowledge. And also want to just take the opportunity to talk about a few accomplishments over the years, what we have planned for Arbor Day this year, and just the future of trees in Mount Rainier. So first, I just can't not plug why trees are awesome. So here are a few things that I'm sure a lot of you already know, but just for the good of the conversation, just want to emphasize these. So trees in urban environments do a lot. And a few of those things include helping absorb sounds of traffic in urban areas. They help keep our neighborhoods cooler. They help reduce energy costs. There's a lot of evidence that homes with trees have higher property values. And there's been more and more research about green space and trees playing a major role in improving mental and physical health. And of course, planting and maintaining trees absorbs carbon dioxide and stormwater and just mitigates the effect of climate change. So those are some of the great reasons why we want trees around us. Now, in terms of what it means to be a Tree City USA, there are some standards that we have to meet as a city in order to get certified every year. And there's 4 standards here. So we have to maintain a tree board or department. In this case, we have a tree commission. And then of course, Public Works does a lot with our tree maintenance. We need to have a community tree ordinance. We need to spend at least $2 per capita on urban forestry. And then we need to celebrate Arbor Day in some form. That can be as minimal as a proclamation, or we can do other events. So we have completed the paperwork for 20 years in meeting these 4 standards. And just a kind of a fun slice of history, Brian Nedler sent me this old file from the first Arbor Day that the city celebrated back in 1990. And this is a really interesting document to read through, but it talks about dedication of Elm Avenue as kind of an urban tree trail that was dedicated back in 1990. And that Mount Rainier was one of only 15 communities to receive the Tree City USA recognition back in 1989/90. So in this document also, even back in 1990, there was discussion about the importance of trees to global warming. So a lot of really interesting facts in this document. And you may be doing the math, right? So 1990 is 33 years ago. Why are we only celebrating 20 years? From what I can gather, we didn't file the paperwork for about 13 years. And that's why we're only celebrating 20 years. But in actuality, we got our first certification, it looks like back in 1989, 1990. So in terms of a few accomplishments, I just want to celebrate. So I've only been involved in the Tree Commission for the last 6 years or so. So there's a lot of history before this. But a few things I just want to call out are Urban Forest Code. I know there's been an ordinance on the books for some time that was expanded back in 2014 to include private trees on private property. We had the passage of the Ordinance 13-2013, which includes the mitigation fee for impervious construction, and that the fees that are collected go towards tree planting and maintenance, which is very progressive. We have a consulting arborist that helps us with the implementation of our tree ordinance, and I think that's been probably from the last 5 years. We have some interesting data I compiled from the last 5 years of how many trees we've planted. So these are trees that the Tree Commission has been involved in, either helping to facilitate or actually planting ourselves. So over 450 trees planted over the past 5 years on public and private property, because we did partner with Casey Trees 1 year to get over 40 trees on private property planted. If you aren't aware, the Tree Commission for the last several years has been doing winter pruning of our young street trees. This last winter, we pruned probably over several hundreds of young trees. And this is really to help the young trees develop a sturdier structure, stronger limbs, as well as attractive forms. So this is all volunteer. And then in this past year, we have launched a new tree inventory database to help us better kind of track maintenance of our tree needs. And then we worked with the council, if you remember, about a year and a half ago, we came to the council and asked for some funding through ARPA to put forth a climate resilient tree RFP. And so we got that out on the street with Public Works, and I think we're close to making an announcement about that award. And then we just steady increases for tree maintenance in the budget. So just really appreciate the continued investment in tree maintenance, which is so important. And here's just a snapshot. So I mentioned this tree inventory database that we been working on. And so want to recognize one of our tree commissioners who has walked to every tree in the city and entered data for our new database. And here's just a snapshot of the total trees in public space within the city is 1,779 trees. This is constantly changing. We haven't included the trees in Rogers Park, so this number is going to be going up. And we just got 11 new trees planted by Pepco and some other new trees coming in. So this number is constantly changing, but pretty significant number of public trees in our small city. So Arbor Day, what do we have planned this year? So we plan to host a planting event at Rogers Park. We've been working on getting the communication out for that, but the goal is to have a small event on Saturday, April 29th from 10 to 12. Bring your own equipment, but we'll have about 15 trees to plant there. We also worked with Public Works, and just a big thank you for getting the Tree City USA signs installed across the city. You can see a picture on the left here of the new signs. That's just one of, I think, 5 or 6 locations where there's new signs up, and we just need to get the 20-year sticker added to that. And then I walked by City Hall today and just want to say a big thank you for getting the Tree City USA flag flying at City Hall. So that's a picture from today on the right there. The Tree Commission is also working on a resource guide on how to plant and maintain trees for residents. And then, as I mentioned, I'm hoping, if the timing can work out, that we actually announce the Climate Resilient Tree Planting Awardee, if we can time it for Arbor Day as well. I think that would be a really nice announcement. And then lastly, my last slide here is just kind of looking to the future and just some thoughts. Of course, we need to maintain our trees. That's a continued need. It's not as sexy as planting a tree, but trees need continued maintenance, whether that's pruning. In the case of hazards, we need to remove trees, but also watering. Watering is a huge need, particularly for our young trees. And I've been just talking with Rocio over the last few days about needing to water a lot of young trees around the city because we are in a drought. Of course, we need to preserve the existing trees we have, protect against damage. We need to make sure our residents understand our ordinance, how to care for trees, what they can do on their own property to plant trees, take care of the trees they have. And then I think one big challenge we have is we have planted a lot of trees in our city, and it's great. But we need to identify new spaces for trees, and some of those spaces are a little tougher. We have spaces under power lines that still are open, and so that's a possibility. But what about churches, private property? Can we widen our tree boxes in certain areas for bigger canopy trees? And then, just throwing out the possibility, this is something I would love to see the city do, is purchase land to create additional pocket parks. So when there is land available for purchase, can we get some more small parks in our city and use those as opportunities to build our canopy throughout the city? And then lastly, partnership. I think that's going to be a key word looking ahead. There's going to be massive opportunities for tree funding through the Inflation Reduction Act and also through the bipartisan infrastructure law. Just billions, literally billions of dollars available for urban tree planting, and there'll be good opportunities for us to take advantage of it. It's just we need creative partnerships to take advantage of that funding and find new spaces for putting those trees. So with that, I just will leave it as if you have any questions and just say thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary Lee and the Tree Commission. So I'm gonna go Luke with you since you are the liaison. Go ahead.
No, Mary Lee, thank you so much for the presentation. And I'm really hoping that we can do all those things you mentioned on the sort of future bullets. Hopefully we can get that done soon with some partnerships. At the May work session, we're going to have a presentation from Mary Abe, who's a resident, also works with the county, about a potential for a partnership with the county on a tree program that they're going to roll out here later this year. So I think there's going to be lots of opportunities. It's just going to be a matter of us finding people who have the capacity to implement and execute on those opportunities. So thank you, Mary Lee. Thanks for everything that everyone on the Tree Commission does.
All right, perfect. I'm going to stick with Ward 1. Jimmy?
No, nothing to add. Thank you, Mary Lee, for all your work.
Valerie? You're muted.
Thank you. Yeah, Mary Lee, that's a great presentation. Thank you for putting that together. Just a quick question or two. One, can you let everybody know where Rogers Park is so that if they want to come, they can come to it?
You're gonna, it's like a quiz. So it's on Eastern Avenue and it's between Bunker Hill and 28th. So it's like a slice of city property that runs behind several houses on 29th Street. Yes, but we need to get communications out. So we're working with Pink and we're going to put stuff on the listserv and Facebook. So either later today or tomorrow, but certainly we'll include the address since it's not familiar to a lot of folks.
Right. You might mention that it was where the goats were. I think kids will remember that at least. And the other question I had was, I know the Chesapeake Bay Trust, and this might be what Luke was referencing, but Chesapeake Bay Trust had an ambitious goal of planting like 100 million trees or something like that. Is that the county type program that you guys are looking to partner with, or is that something separate?
I don't actually know. I think there's funding through PG Department of the Environment, but then there's also a bunch of funding through Chesapeake Bay Trust. I don't know if they're working together, if it's different. I think Mary's presentation next month will hopefully give a little bit more information. But yeah, I think there's a lot of these different groups will have funding in the coming years and opportunities through grants.
Excellent, thank you. And I would just say the last thing, just as a quick minute, the Mount Rainier Elementary School, I know they're working on installing some kind of food edible forest garden at some point. So we'll keep you in touch for that. But that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Valerie. I think it's called the Right Tree, Right Place program from the county, from the Public of Public Works. I think that's what it's called because I just came from a meeting with them. I think that's the name of the program. And I'm happy to hear somebody's going to give a presentation on it, so I don't have to do it. It's great. Jared, go ahead.
Nope, nothing else to add other than just thanking you, Mary Lee, for your tireless dedication, stewardship, oversight, and contribution, both you and the Tree Commission, in terms of just the time you all spend making our city a better place. So I just want you to know you're very much appreciated, and thank you for your work. And I did want to just kind of reflag. As you mentioned, there's a lot of resources, BIL, IRA. There's a lot of opportunities, especially ones that are maybe kind of squishing how the programs are formed, but agencies, federal agencies that are implementing the programs are creating opportunities that we may need to be able to tap into. So, Mary, we are flagging and tracking these things as a city. We have a grants manager on board, but, please feel free to highlight and elevate opportunities that you see and kind of reinforce them, especially some in areas that you're focused fairly closely on. So it is helpful to reinforce for all of us on council, but also staff. Thanks.
All right, perfect. So I will say, Mary Lee, I know you guys are looking for places to plant trees. Reach out to both elementary. So awesome to reach out to you guys because they're thinking about outdoor classrooms. So trees do offer shade and stuff like that. So some of the schools might be open to potentially having trees. I will tell you, I did have a meeting with Doha's, one of their partners, and they definitely would like to see trees right there in front of their business. I think at one point they were planted there, but he said they look forward to having more trees there. So that way when the rest, their customers come over, they'll offer some shade. It makes a little more green and more friendlier. The other thing regarding the information, can you let people know when you guys meet, how to get involved with you guys, and where they could find the information regarding the trees?
Can you clarify what you mean about finding information about the trees?
If they want to have any information about the commission, so what days do you meet? How to you guys? Yes. If somebody wants a tree, how to contact you guys? But also any of the data that you have, are we putting this? Can you share these documents on it, and how often are the number of trees in the city updated?
Yes, so we do have information on the city website about the tree commission. We have our own committee page with contact information, all of our names of who's on the tree commission, and our tree commission email, kind of like our purpose and what we're up to. But in terms of the inventory, so we just had a meeting with Public Works a couple of weeks ago, and there's some investments we need to make, but the goal is eventually that the inventory will be accessible by the public, and they'll be able to look and see what the tree is in front of their house. They'll be able to create maps and kind of understand, I want to find the cherry trees that are in bloom. They'll be able to kind of find that information. So that is a longer term goal, but we're definitely moving in that direction.
So thank you guys so much. And thank you for mentioning the cherry trees. There was a whole map that was set up, and it made a lot of the neighborhoods happy, because we love DC, but having to drive to DC and deal with parking when they're really literally around the corner from our homes, it definitely was key. But that's the way that you guys keep engaged and informing the community, but also taking care of it, because I think that sometimes people take for granted how much tree canopy we have in our city compared to other cities, and how much work is taken for volunteers making sure that this happens. So please extend our thank you to the whole commission, and thank you as well for the work that you do.
Thank you so much.
All right, let me see if I have any comment on the chat. I do have somebody say, wow, fantastic work. This is from Nathan. Thank you, Mary Lee, and the whole committee. And you did answer, so you did see it. Okay, perfect. Anything on Facebook, Jared? All right, thank you so much. Okay, Mary Lee, thank you so much for joining us and for the great presentation as well, okay? And when I came in, I did saw the flag flying, so I was happy to see that as well. All right, so moving on to item number 5. Arbor Day Proclamation. This is 10 minutes. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation for Arbor Day. This is something that the city has been doing for quite a bit of time, quite a bit of years. And we join cities across the United States proclaiming this day, and obviously highlighting the importance of taking care of trees. All right, so Jared, can you go ahead and read the proclamation, please? Vice Mayor?
Absolutely. Official proclamation. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this day, called Arbor Day, was first observed the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed through the nation and through the world. And whereas trees can be a solution in combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Selena R. Benitez, Mayor of the City of Mount Rainier, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 28th, 2023 as Arbor Day in the City of Mount Rainier, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees that gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations.
Thank you so much. this proclamation is going to go on our official documents for the city, obviously, but also in all of our social media as well. And a copy of the signed one is going to be sent to the Tree City USA, so that way they could also have it in their archives. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Okay. So thank you, Melissa, for the agenda. All right, so perfect. Yay, Arbor Day. All right, thank you guys so much. So moving on to item number 6, presentation discussion of amending the code chapter 7, license and permits, municipal infractions. This is a 20-minute. The mayor and council received presentation from Ms. Alma Ferrufino, Director of Code Compliance. Alma, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. As I made that recommendation to the mayor and city council, also the city city manager. Just wanted to know if there was a way that we can actually code compliance make their recommendation to change and amend the code ordinance for chapter 7 when it came to the section 7-109 violations and fines. In my email, I did share the information with everyone that we needed to change the current code ordinance section penalty code, going from the fine for $25 for first offense, $50 for each 30-day period that the violation is continuing, $50 for second offense in same period of the same year. Our recommendation as code compliance is that we go ahead and make that change to say fine $200 for the first offense, $500 for each day after the violation continues. And let me just say that I have made a research other municipalities as well. So this is based not only on, a recommendation that we're doing as a department, but also seeing that I've talked to other colleagues from same departments, and I looked into also their violations and penalty sections. And I did come across where the recommendations that we're making actually can be made. And if they're, actually passed, it would definitely help the matter when it comes to all businesses and permitting side of the chapter 7.
Are you taking a pause, or is there something else you need us to know? Sorry.
No, I'm done with this presentation. I'm sorry. Any questions?
So just to put it in context, Alma, the issue that we have at hand is like we have a lot of delayed payments of business license. Is that the reason why this is being brought out to us?
So there is that a business that we actually continually have every year where we start actually sending applications, hand deliver applications to business owners at the beginning of the year. And then we continue with actually reminding them through the days that February 28th would be the day to actually have submitted their renewals. As far as also, into the permitting side of it, we wanted to make sure that when we're finding anyone that's doing any type of permitting and they're not following through with, what the chapter requires from them, we're also having issues where they look at the fines and definitely, consider that they're so low that they just go ahead and pay the fines and they just continue not complying with the city's ordinance.
Okay, thank you so much, Alma. And you did on the screen, you guys saw it was Cottage City, Hyattsville, and Brentwood, correct? Those are 3 samples of the chapter that you have sent to us, correct?
Correct.
All right, perfect. And their fees, can you summarize what their fees are in Brentwood, Hyattsville, and Cottage City to put it into context?
Sure. So a lot of the colleagues that I spoke to personally, they told me that their fines are $500 per day, that the non-renewal is in existence from business licenses. So they get to a point where, you know, we are asking also to consider what is called the request for businesses for us to issue a cease of operation for some of the businesses in this case.
Okay, so Brentwood is $500 per day after the day, correct?
Correct.
Hyattsville is $250 per day.
And then it goes up to 500, yeah.
Then goes up to 1,000.
Yeah.
1,000, right? 1,000. And then Cottage City is 500 for the initial one, and then the license for more than 9 days, 750 per each repeated offense. Okay.
Correct.
All right, perfect. Thank you. I'm gonna open it up to council to have any thoughts or feedback. The other reason for the community why we're also having these discussions because our fees are part of our budget process. When we approve the budget, we approve what the yearly fees are gonna be for the city, including parking and anything you could think of in between, right? So that's the reason why we're making sure that the discussion is happening. And at the same time, how to call it, so that way if any change is made, it's made as part of the approval of the budget. And yes, we could always come back and amend that part, but it's a lot easier to do it, you know, all at once. And it could be part of an amendment of the budget. That's not a problem. We usually do a couple of them through the year. All right, perfect. So I'm gonna start with Ward 1. Jimmy, Luke, Jared, Valerie.
I don't have any comments. I appreciate so basically in a 2 sentences, why do you think we should do this?
This will really make sure that when it comes to the Chapter 7, that we have compliance not only from business licensing part of it, but also from the permitting side of it. Because like I said, when we write a violation to anyone doing a project, just like the one we heard this earlier today, they do not take it seriously. And this is why they do not take it seriously, because when it comes to the fine, they look at the fine, $25, and they just consider it not to be something that they, you know, they worry about. So they just go ahead and just keep not complying with what the city is asking for.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Luke.
Alma, thank you for taking the time out to explain this all to us and for doing the research on what other cities are doing. And I support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jared.
Yeah, Alma, thanks for your explanation on this. I think, you know, once you've presented this, it makes a lot of sense. I understand from a compliance standpoint, if the fines are just too low that you can ignore them, it makes it very difficult for you to be able to do the job that we are asking you to do. And then what I also appreciate is the fact that you've laid out what our peer cities are doing. So this makes clear that, you know, when we're bringing these, you know, potential fee levels and fine levels to this city, what we're really doing is aligning what we're doing, what we're going to do in this city with what other cities are already doing. So, you know, the proposals that you've laid out are not out of line. They're in fact aligning our policies with what our peer cities are doing and already been doing to successfully accomplish the thing we're trying to do, which is to get businesses licensed appropriately as they need to be and ensure they're in compliance. So I actually don't have any additional thoughts. I appreciate you doing the legwork, doing the research, comparisons, and analysis here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Valerie.
Yeah, thank you. I don't really have anything to add to this. I think you've done a lot of research, and I know that you're doing a lot of hard work to make sure that businesses and everything's in compliance. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Alma, thank you so much for putting definitely like I echo what my other colleagues have mentioned regarding, thank you for putting the research forward. I see some of them are going back since 2014 and previously 2086. And the fee itself, if they're not paying it at this point, we haven't gotten to the point to close them down. The fees are due the end of February, correct?
So we have sent out letters to business owners that have not complied yet. We have letters explaining the late fee right now, and after April 28th, there's actually a reinstatement of $300 plus the $100 with the late fee. So I'm hoping that we get a response, and I'm hoping that this initiative actually, helps us in getting more compliance every year.
No, thank you for that. Thank you for bringing in addressing. I know your department for sure drops the letters, follow up with them. There's a big also social media campaign, but you guys don't just do social media. You guys actually hand deliver the application. So you guys go above and beyond to notify people, and the day is pretty steady. And it is, I could see why if we are right now on April 18 and they were due on February, and we're still on the reminding phase, how dismissive it could be. This definitely does not affect anybody that pays, their fee on time. And the fee itself is, the license fee is like $200, correct? Somewhere around there, more or less.
It's an average of 200. It's only bigger when it's a bigger location.
Yeah. So, and out of that, the city, that's part of it, MRBA, the Rainier Business.
Sorry, did you all lose Selena?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Selena, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
Looks like she dropped off the call.
Okay. Let's just hold. Sorry, folks. Let's just hold 1 second.
My computer died. I'm gonna go ahead and connect myself on the phone. I'm in Melissa's computer right now. But
Okay.
if we're on approval, can Mr. Kamali and Alma, can you guys put something together for us to add it to our budget discussion in order for us to make it part of the budget, please?
Sure.
Will do.
Thank you so much. And move us on to the next item, Jerry, while I connect this in my phone, okay?
Yep.
Thank you, Alma.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Alma. The next item is discussion on recommendations to the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission appointments to the Mount Rainier Legacy Mixed Use Town Center Committee. That's a mouthful. So just a little bit of background for folks watching. So the Mount Rainier Legacy Mixed Use Town Center Committee, or LMUTC, which is still a mouthful, is a committee that oversees basically exterior design and development in the historic downtown. That's largely 34th Street and Rhode Island, and a little bit of Bunker Hill and Perry. So this committee works in combination with Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, which oversees planning and zoning for the county. And there's a special zone, the LMUTC zone, that covers the historic part of the city. That's a special sort of zoning area. And this committee has a committee of that's 7 people. Those 7 folks serve as basically a committee that provides guidance and recommendations to applicants, which are businesses that are operating in the city, in the LMUTC zone, in terms of exterior design, guidance, and so forth. This committee is a 7-member committee. It used to have sort of different terms, and MNC-PPC got its code revised recently. So the committee is a 7-member committee, and now all the members on the committee basically up at the same time for the first time. So members serve a 2-year term, and that term just expired. They were able to extend for up to 6 months, which we're doing till we're able to appoint new committee members. The requirements for the committee, folks, if you've worked with this committee in the past, there were some requirements from MNC-PPC around different categories, business owners, architects, and so forth. That requirement has been replaced with just a simple requirement that at least one member of the committee is a design professional with experience in the fields of architecture, engineering, historic preservation, and/or planning. So what happens is a council makes recommendations on the members, and then those recommendations are transmitted to MNC-PPC for appointment by that agency, and then the current terms would end and folks would enter a new term. So we put out a request for the next 2-year term that'd be basically this spring 2023, April 2023 or May 2023 through basically spring 2025. And we have 10 applicants. 5 of those members are current members of the existing committee. And then we received 5 additional applicants as well. So I'm convening this meeting just to get consensus on the members that we're going to appoint to the committee, make a recommendation, to MNC-PPC to appoint to the committee. And that's it. So Selena, do you want me to add anything else before I kind of give my broader thoughts?
You give long introduction.
I know it was a really it's a complicated committee. It was not a short introduction. Sorry.
We'll be here until like midnight at this rate. But thank you so much for putting into context. Vice Mayor Stoff has already explained what the committee is, what it does, and why is it that we're here. So you have the current members currently are that have applied to continue as Anthony Lee, Nathan Birch. I should have asked you to read this once, Jared.
Yeah, I can. Nathan said I can do it.
And Robin Bliss. All right, and those are the 5 that have said that they will continue if we reappoint them. Yep. And then you have and then if we reappoint every single one of them, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. We have 2 openings, correct, Jared?
Yes. And there's 5 additional applicants: Charnette Robinson, Sachin Kandari, Nathan Kroger, Samantha Kay, and Thomas Silverstein.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. So at this point, the proposal would be like, if council would like to reappoint the 5 and then add 2 more names to the rotation. And I'll give you the floor. Go on, Jared.
Yeah. So my recommendation, and the way park and planning changed, that there used to be a overlap. So you'd have some members on the committee while some seats were open. And this kind of 2-year term that all expires at the same time does kind of present some challenges for institutional continuity. So my recommendation is that we continue the members that wanted to continue. So 2 members that are currently on the committee, Justin Bost and Mario Cisneros, decided not to continue, but 5 members did ask to be reappointed. And my recommendation would be that we carry over those 5. They all represent a lot of dedication, history, institutional knowledge, and background on the committee. Some that have served, not just the previous term, but several terms before that.
Okay, Council. So we're going to do this in 2 parts. I need to know if you guys agree. We are definitely not going to be voting, but I need to know so that we could all work collectively. If we're under consensus to move forward to reappoint the 5 that'll be reappointed, and then submit the other 2 names for the 2 names that we consider for consideration for this collective. So I want to hear, since we started with Ward 2, Valerie, where are you with it?
Yeah, I'm good with keeping people that are on there.
All right, fine. Jimmy, Luke, where are we with that?
So, and I'm sorry because Jared reached out, I didn't respond. I think there is a question concern of me about the ward breakout. I don't know if Jared, you know, the wards. I know Nathan is in Ward 1 and Charnette is in Ward 1. I don't know all the other people, but I think almost all of them are in Ward 2. As you know better, I know Anthony Lee is in Ward 2. Sachin is in Ward 2. Robert is in Ward 2. I don't know about some of the others. Do you know? And it's, you know, it's not, but
I would say the focus on this is it's not a sort of a ward representative role. It's a what expertise do you bring to the committee in terms of architecture, planning, historic preservation, or so forth. So you're providing guidance to, you know, I'm sorry.
You finish. I'll make a comment.
Yeah, let me finish. To businesses in applicants that are seeking to engage in the MUTC zone. So I mean, you know, whether folks are, I think on, you know, 32nd Street or 30th Street is, you know, not necessarily germane to the purposes and the role the committee plays.
I mean, I was a liaison for a while, and I hate to disagree with you. I think all our committees, you know, involve some lay person's involvement in the thing, and isn't just for, I mean, you know, there is the code book to follow and things like that. And while it's good to have some expertise, and I think doesn't he actually explicitly ask for that, require that some of the people be.
No, as I stated again, the requirements that were, as I stated again, I'll just say again, MNC-PPC revised the requirements to make the requirements solely centered on design professionals with experience in architecture, engineering, historic preservation, or planning. Mm-hmm. So that's specifically what MNC-PPC is asking us for in terms of the applicants that we bring forward.
Mm-hmm.
So as a point of
again, let me just finish my comment. Well, that's true. I think it's really still important for us to involve people from throughout the city where we can, and if there's nobody qualified, nobody, you know, relevant from ward, yes, but if there are people, that's something we should at least consider. And specifically, do you know anybody else? I mean, anybody else who's from ward? Is everybody else from Ward 2 except for Charnette and Nathan? I don't know all the people. I don't know Samantha or Nathan Kroger.
I'd have to.
So
we don't know. Okay.
Samantha's from Ward 1, and Thomas is Ward 2.
Guys. Yeah. When I give myself the mic as a point of information, to remind council that the applications from all these candidates were submitted to you by our team. So you should have all their information, resumes, and applications that were submitted as well. So I want to make sure that if you guys have any, if you guys need any additional questions, is there in the applications? Just so we know as well, right? So take a look at it at this point. There is one thing, one of the members that are here, they're part of a committee that can only be part of the committee. And the police advisory board member, the chair, can only be part of the police advisory board. So that person this will be the second time they'll have to forfeit a committee, because they forfeited the Board of Elections to be into a police station. That means that they will, if selected, they will have to leave the police station advisory board to join this board. So this will be the third committee that they hop on this year. So be aware of that, right? I'm getting messages on this. The police advisory will do it. So at this point, I will tell you, so the question that was addressed was one, do we want to move forward the 5 original that are here, right? In order to recommend, and then leave the 2 other open. And Jared, thank you so much for putting them, letting us know who belongs to what from what ward. And on the future, we'll go ahead and be a little more specific with that, Melissa. If you could take a note of that, put the words on it as well, so we are aware of it. But in this case, I mean, this open call went up 2-3 times, Jared?
Yep. We had a solicitation and another solicitation. So, and I just want to reiterate, having served on this committee as a committee member for several years, actually, I think, Jimmy, when you were on council, you know, the role of this committee, I understand the geography and district representation, but it is a very technical committee where expertise of the applicant in the things that we're asking them to provide assistance. I mean, their role is technical recommendations, technical assistance, design assistance. That really requires a background in those things. And that's why Maryland National Capital Park and Planning is asked specifically for those in the code for the program, for the committee.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Jared. So, Luke, where are you with this? Are you in agreement to move the first 5 over and then work on selecting 2 more?
Yeah, I'm in agreement on the current 5 staying over and selecting 2 more. I think I know who I'd like to pick from the group, but we can wait on that if you'd like to, Mayor.
I'm sorry, Luke, the last part cut off. You want to say something else, or?
I think I know who I want to nominate for the remaining 2, but I'll wait on that.
So the first, so I hear right now, and I believe I called on everybody, correct? Am I missing anyone? So right now the agreement from all of us is basically, let me know if Jimmy, you were agreeing with this one. If not, majority of us are at least 4 of the 5. The current positions, right? Anthony, Elena, Nathan, and Robin will move forward for reappointment, and then we'll reappoint 2 more. Okay, so if that's clear, you guys could submit the 2 names that you like to add to this so that we could vote on the next meeting. If you guys are ready for that step, then we'll move forward with that as well. And Luke, if you, council, are we there on that step right now? I hear Lucas, yes. Valerie, you're good. Jared, you're ready to go?
Yes.
Jimmy?
Yeah, I'm fine with the 5, though. I really have to disagree with Jared on how much expertise it takes to be on that committee. Having served on that committee, it really, people who are involved in the city, I know what the county may want, but having been in the city, involved with the business and involvement, really takes looking at the plans, looking at the book, seeing whether signs correspond to what the guidelines say, and it doesn't take a lot of expertise to do that. I mean, that's getting my experience. But the 5 people are fine. I have no problem with the 5 people. I just think, most people in the city, will have an interest, can really fill a role in this, despite what MUTC, because, having been involved in it and been to lots of meetings, it didn't need you didn't have to have that kind of professional experience for it.
So I do have a comment.
But I agree with the 5, and that's all you want us to talk about.
Perfect. Let's move forward to the 5. Okay, so Melissa, you have the 5, right? We do have a comment for Nathan Cerrone. I agree with Jimmy, the borough percentage is ideal. The nature of this specific committee makes it less direction and planful on the mission that it may be for other committees. All right, thank you, Nathan. So we have the first 5, and I'm gonna go in order. I'm gonna start with Ward 2. Jared, who's your vote forward for?
My 2 would be, are you asking who my 2 are?
Yep.
Sachin Kandari from Ward 2 and Samantha Kay from Ward 1, both with expertise in the areas historic preservation and design that MNC-PPC is asked for. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Valerie.
I have the same recommendation. Thank you.
Perfect. Luke?
Yeah, I have the same recommendation. I'd love to see Sachin get involved on a committee here. He's been pretty active in the community. And I think Samantha would be good. I think it'd be good to balance this out from a male-female perspective and get somebody on there. I know Charnette's on a couple other committees, including the Police Advisory Board. So I think getting Samantha on there would be good.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jimmy.
I'll pass to you, Selena.
All right, so taking into account, we want somebody from Ward 1 and Ward 2, balance more women as well, you know, I have it a little bit more gender as well, right? I like Sanchin and Samantha K. So that'll be my vote. So we'll have one of each to add to the committee. Okay, Jimmy, go ahead.
I'll make it unanimous.
Okay, so it is not a vote. It is, we are in agreement for this to pass. Let's make sure we put it in the agenda, Melissa, the 7. And there is a draft letter. Jerry, let me know if you need it or you edit it, whichever the 2 was, so that we could put it in a letterhead and get it ready. And we're gonna just add the names of recommendations once it passed. Put the date by how much, if it was unanimous, it'll be by a vote of, you know, X, right? And we'll sign it off and send it, okay? So Melissa, I'll work with you to make sure this letter is ready. And we'll get it to the appropriate people. All right, thank you guys so much. And thank you to everybody that apply and has, and all those also as well that volunteer. Send a letter, send an email out also, Melissa, to all those that were recommended to move forward for a vote, so that way they are aware of who they are. Nathan, since you know some of the current ones as well, can you also help us in informing them that they have been, that they're gonna go for a vote for reappointment and new additions for the next committee meeting, okay? And yes, thank you, Jerry, for all the work in sorting this out. All right, okay, moving on to the next item. It is 8:23. I'm definitely letting you guys know. Thank you, Nathan, as well. All right, so item number 8, ARPA discussion update number 28. The mayor and council will discuss the status of projects, including police computers for $55,000, police uniforms for $36,500, by co-op for $8,000, Community Development Corporation operating in Mount Rainier for $150,000. The city base home repairs program, this would be like run by the city, $150,000. The Throne bathroom for $30,000. The youth scholarship program for $42,000, an additional $42,000 to get us to 2026. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and open the floor. Luke, I'm gonna see the floor since I'm assuming you have the document that shows. This is basically, we are in budget discussion, so there's a couple of items that we wanted to make sure we place ideally under ARPA, but there's still in consideration. The method that we basically have used is like bring it to a work session, discuss, and then figure out if we're gonna move it forward for a vote or bring it back for another work session. So those are the ones that were pulled out from our last budget, hearing to make sure that we address them as well. Luki, do me a favor, before we touch them, can you do a quick summary of how much money we have allocated so far and how much money we have left, so, without touching this, so that way the community also know why we're trying. The other thing is, like, it's very important for us to allocate the funds as the cutoff period is coming closer, so that we could start working in the projects and with the idea to have them finalized as soon as possible, but obviously before the cutoff period of the cutoff period 2026, the work's supposed to be completed. But the money has to be already allocated by next year, I believe. So that way, that's the reason why we're making sure we're making plans appropriate, so that way it's part of our discussion as we move forward. Go on, Luke.
Yeah. Just had a thought that it's really amazing that we can just share our screens on these meetings. It's really quite, technology is impressive. Sorry to have that ad load there. So if you see my screen, I'm not going to go through everything that's been allocated, but we've allocated a total of $4,657,000 thus far. We have remaining funds of $773,000. And the items that Selena uses, if we allocate that money, that remaining fund balance will go down. But like Selena mentioned, we've been told that it is nigh time to allocate as much of this as possible, because we don't want to have any money unallocated that some politicians who are unfavorable to this type of spending could come take away from us at some point in time. And Selena, if somebody could tell me what the new projects are, I can start typing them in here so we can start getting an idea of that.
Do you have the screen, or that's the screen that Melissa has?
That's the screen that she has, but you could just tell me what it is. I can put them in here.
Yeah, Melissa, can you send it to the?
I can read it, Mayor.
Go ahead, Kamali. Go ahead and read it.
Okay, look, are you ready?
Yep.
The police computers is gonna be $55,000.
It is in your email, or they could email this to you, Luke, so you could copy and paste as well if you want to.
This is easy. Who's next?
Next is the police uniforms, which will be $36,500, $36,000.
Okay.
The next is bike co-op, which is $8,000.
Okay.
The CDC for Valerie proposal $150,000.
Okay.
City-based home repairs program is $150,000.
Okay.
The throne bathroom is $30,000.
Okay.
Youth scholarship program is $42,000.
For that one, Luke, is an addition of 42 because the scholarship program is already there. So just make sure so that we don't get confused of being a second one. Yeah, so put addition.
Put a star there, and then we'll move it back to where it is.
Okay, so point information, this is what we're proposing. We haven't agreed on it yet. We're supposed to have a discussion on this point. And if we're moving forward, they basically stay there and then they go to the meeting for us to ideally vote on the next legislative meeting coming up next month. All right, so got it, Luke?
Yep, and I also, whenever you think it's ready, I have a proposal on some of this, but we could take it line by line and wait if you want.
So just one point of information, Luke, the police uniforms is $36,500. So you're $500 short right there. I don't want a sock to be missing later on. I mean, like $500, like somebody's missing shoes. We like just like $500 are missing. All right. Thank you keep okay.
Sorry.
All right. So I need to make sure we are aware that most of this was the police uniforms, the computers, the drone, the city-based repair program. Can you not put it for $150,000? That's CDC. It's not Gateway. Just put CDC that works within the city. Okay. So all of those, the scholarships, all those are city-led. Which basically means like obviously the policing computers are not for random police officer, Rainier officers, policing computers uniforms. The bike co-op is also something that'll be worked in-house. The throne bathroom is they will go under contract with us. The scholarship is something that we have a scholarship committee that does it, and the Bay Street Home Program is something that Councilmember Woodall is currently working on to present. And it'll be like run also through city means. The CDC that works within the city of Rainier proposal to put out, we have been instructed has to go out to bid, as we have done the other programs. If we want to do the CDC that works for the city of Rainier and then put specific information out of what we're seeking in order to fulfill our goal. That has to go out for bid, okay? And that's the reason why it's right there under CDC. And Luke, can you say specifically what is
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Hold on one. Yes,
sure.
But Luke, can you let people know what a CDC is?
It's a community development corporation. It's a specific entity that has certain tax benefits and is allowed to apply for certain grants that are made available to just community development corporations. and their mission is to, like it says, develop the community in which it exists.
Thank you so much, Luke. Jimmy, go ahead. You have a question.
Yeah, I'm unclear why you took the word gateway out. There was no other CDC other than the Gateway CDC. So, I mean, that's what we're talking about.
You take it out because if it has to go out to bid, any CDC that does works within the city of Mount Rainier or that wants to do work within the city of Mount Rainier could apply for it. So if the highest bill CDC decides that they would like to work and do work for the city of Mount Rainier, they could apply. If Brentwood has a CDC, or somebody with a CDC has it, or the Northern Gate CDC that does exist would like to apply, they have to has to be open for them to apply because it has to be competitive. That's
so
the
let
reason why.
Let me just push back a little bit on that. I mean, then you're not talking about a CDC because any other company, any other group. So you're talking about the kind of work.
Jimmy, I have a proposal on this front that might make the whole issue moot.
Yeah, please. I just had to clear that out because we were instructed.
Yeah, no, I understand where you're going. I just think.
But I will have Luke address it because I know he wanted to make a change, but as it currently says, I had to make that clarification. Luke, go ahead and put your proposal forward.
Thank you, Mayor. So everything Mayor was saying was correct. At least the consultation we've been given from our consultant on these ARPA funding is that we'd have to go out to bid in order to get money to a CDC, and I think that's kind of pointless at this point. We know we want to give it to Gateway CDC. We know they're the only CDC that does work in this town. And so my proposal was going to be, and I think this is something that Kamali may have recommended this, or we have about $700,000 in the budget for a whole host of, so it might be like 736 for a whole host of streets and sidewalk stuff, so we can implement part of our streets and sidewalk study, then traffic calming and all that jazz. My proposal would be to put $150,000 from the budget from our streets and sidewalks and put it in here. So in other words, create a line item that says streets and sidewalks for $150,000, and then put the CDC funding into the budget for $150,000 with the understanding that next fiscal year, the CDC does not get a line item in our budget. This is a one-time thing for the CDC. It's not going to get continually funded in our budget. That money would then go back to streets and sidewalks next year. So we're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're not out of streets and sidewalks money next year. It'll still be there. And that's it. I think that's a proposal. I think then we could also look at whether we want to add additional money to streets and sidewalks from ARPA, but that's a later discussion. I think the proposal on the table is to put 150 to streets and sidewalks here, lower streets and sidewalks in the budget by 150, but allocate 150 in the budget to the Gateway CDC. Then we don't have to go through the whole putting out the bid stuff, which is kind of a waste of everyone's time and energy.
So I will say something to Luke. That's the reason why originally has said, we usually don't write it down here unless we agree on it. So I think we skipped one step. That way you were able to explain why is it that the CDC wasn't going to go in here. Because I don't want it to mislead people into what it is, but make it clear. And I wanted to make sure that we were sound on the advice that was given. So, so I will do two things. One, remove the CDC right now from it and just leave it in the Word document so that we could talk about the first round. So I think those will be the first ones to knock them out. And then we could go back to the CDC discussion. Can we work on that for right now? So that way we could, if all five of them we're in agreement with them, they stay, and then we just have the discussion, the CDC / or the science. All right, so Council, we're not voting. Right now, I need to know if we have a consensus to add this to the ARPA funding to move it towards voting. So I don't need to hear your vote, yes or no, but if you're in consensus of adding it to this document and moving it towards voting, so that way you could vote it up or down, whichever way you choose to, on the legislative session. Okay, so I'm gonna go one by one, and I just need to hear where you're at. Okay. So police computers for $55,000. Where are we? Yay or nay? I see Luke thumbs up, Valerie thumbs up, Jared thumbs up. Jimmy, are you thumbs up?
Sure.
Okay, thumbs up. All right, police uniforms for $36,500. thumbs up. Luke, Valerie, Jared, thumbs up. Jimmy?
Fine. I'm fine with all of them. So
Okay. We usually do a worry. The throne bathroom, we're all good. Luke, Valerie, Jared, good. And Jimmy say he's good with everything. All right. So right now it's consensus. The scholarship program added 42 to get us to the year 2026. Luke, we're good. Valerie, where are we at?
I'm good with that. Yeah.
Jared?
Yep.
Good. Jamie said he's good with it. So consensus. The city-based home repair program, 150,000. Where are we with that, Council? Yes. Valerie?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I just, Luke, for your spreadsheet management, I think it's already further up.
Okay.
So
Great.
just as an FYI, it's okay. You can leave it for now, but like just
Yep.
Put a star next to it as well, so that way we know what the wait. So was it funded with money already, Valerie, or no?
No, it was just on your list. And it was something that I was working on, and it has my name on the column to the right.
Perfect. Thank you. So see, this is why we need to work on this. Thank you so much, Valerie. Jared, your thumbs up, and Jimmy, your thumbs up, right? And I'm thumbs up. All right. So police, computers, uniforms by co-op, throw bathroom, the additional scholarship money, and the city-based home repair improvement, all these items run by the city. You know what? I actually have one question. I didn't call on that one. There's one. So far, it's good. The bike co-op, can somebody refresh me? What are those $8,000 for if we made a bunch of repairs this year? What are the $8,000 for?
Mayor, can I respond?
Go ahead.
Yes, they sent us, and I shared the information with you guys. It was a one-page explanation that I sent it to Mayor and Council last week. But overall, since we have done the windows this year for almost, $16,000, we could just, wait and see how they're going to use that money. I think it's more than enough. I don't think they're going to use $8,000.
What was it for, though? What was the 8,000?
Yeah, what is it? Can you refresh us? What is it for, Mr. Kamali?
I'm sorry, I don't have that proposal in front of me, but I can send it to you guys tomorrow. I'm sorry because I've been out of the office for a few days. I cannot recall the proposal right now.
That's fine, Mr. Kamali. So can we put a pause on the bike walk for right now because none of us have clarity. And I know I know we have put some funding to fix a lot of stuff. So that's what I thought it was already all fixed up, including the windows that were missing. And I think everything that's why I was a little confused with the 8,000. So can we put that one back in the Word document? The bike co-op, Luke, can we draw it and then we could have more clarity and we could do it for a different meeting if we need be, or we could hold it for something else? Because that I'm not clear, because they do have money currently in the budget, right, Mr. Kamali?
Yes, last year they had $6,500 and they have used only $1,500 so far.
Okay, some of the money was also because some of the money was going to come from the repairs. All right, so let's put a pause on that because if nothing else needs to be repaired or nothing, or we're not aware of what it is, I will say that's the only one I put a pause on it, and we could revisit. But so far we have agreement, police computers, police uniform, the drone, the scholarship, and the city-based home program. Luke, do you have an estimate of what that looks like? So the bike co-op is going to be the one that's going to come off out of all of that, Luke. For further,
I'm going to try to shade it so that it's a little easier to see.
Yeah, so for those that have seen this document, yellow usually means that we have consensus to move it towards a vote. Clear white looks is like something that we're thinking of, and green means that it was voted and approved, and usually the work is being done. Correct? Oh, I'm sorry, Luke, you changed my color.
Sorry, yeah.
Consensus. Well, you have to put a legend on this, Luke. You're messing with me now. All right. So blue means we have consensus, and green means it has been voted and approved, and our team is working. A box right next to it, if you see where it says, okay, it usually has a little description where we're at in the process. So, okay. So for the next meeting, we'll do an update on it, Luke, and more detail update where the programs are if you guys want, because it's already 8:41. Okay. All right. So this is part of the ARPA discussion. This part is done. Let's go back to, can you go back to the agenda, Melissa, in the meantime?
Should we talk about Gateway and what to do with that?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to make sure we go back to the agenda, because Gateway's not going to be in this discussion with ARPA, but I want to make sure that we figure out what, if it's not in this discussion with ARPA, we might have to like put in us, and we might have to ask, can we just decide to add something to the agenda as a sub point? Because we decided to withdraw it from ARPA, right? So the point discuss ARPA items that we're voting and updating and approving.
Well, we would have to, so we would talk about Gateway at the next budget session on Tuesday, because we'd want to add it in the budget.
After this meeting, because we have a budget work session after this meeting, Luke.
Oh, right. But we should talk about whether we want to do the streets and sidewalks in this ARPA, because we would have to take 150 from the budget from streets and sidewalks to put into this ARPA plan.
We could mention it, but since it wasn't in the agenda, I don't want to like throw like 150,000 on it without having to like officially put it out. But put it on, I'll say put it on the yeah, like that, so that we can have the discussion on it, right? But that's what with the Gateway CC, I'm not concerned because we have a budget hearing right after, and we could discuss it there, if it's because it's a budget work session, you know. But also we could discuss the street and sidewalks, taking it out on that same point, because it's removing something from the budget to move it towards street and sidewalks. Okay. You hear me?
Yeah, kind of. So we would just vote on the streets and sidewalks the next time we meet then, I guess, at the legislative session. We could have it on there.
So on the work session tonight, we have a budget work session on it. That's when we could discuss if we want to swipe them from one to the other and move the other one to the ARPA. So that way it could go on the next work session. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I think let's do it.
Or
now,
the next.
so that way.
Could it even go on the next legislative session for a vote? So we just get it.
We will have to make it will have to go to a work session first.
Okay.
Okay, but for street and sidewalks, does the budget currently has 150,000 or has less?
It has about 736,000 if you total up the streets and sidewalks, the resurfacing, and the traffic calming.
How much was the money? I'm sorry.
It's like 500,000 for streets and sidewalks, 200,000 for street resurfacing. No, sorry, Kamali shaking his head.
Can I say it?
Go ahead, Kamali.
It's $500,000 for a street and sidewalk, $131,000 for a street resurfacing, $85,000 for the speed bumps.
So it's more than 150. So out of that, we'll take 150. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that's clear, because it sounded very low compared to the 5-6% of the budget that we usually do. All right, perfect. Okay, so let's move that discussion to the next one, but it's already there. Okay. Yes. All right, so we'll move on to the next item. So the CDC discussion is gonna go under the budget work session, so that we can have the discussion there, okay? So Luke, put a big star right there, and you're responsible for reminding me of this one. Or Valerie, who's our liaison. All right?
Don't forget.
She'll be like, it's time to go to bed, bye. Okay, next item on the agenda. And for the members of the public, if for whatever reason we get any grants to be able to fund any of those items on ARPA, then we will reset the numbers and reallocate them, so it's not a problem. Okay? All right. You have screen share, or what do you have?
I can take it off.
Okay, please. Okay, then we have item number 9, presentation of the minutes. The city clerk will present the following minutes to Mayor and Council. March 21st, 2023 legislative special meeting for public hearing and work session. March 25th, 2023 budget hearing and work session. In April 4, 2023 legislative meeting. This is just a presentation. We do not have to approve. It will be on the next legislative meeting for vote. Thank you again, Melissa and Gabby, for working on this. I know it takes a lot of time to get this done, but you guys were up to date, which is beautiful. All right, so council, if you have anything to submit it, please submit it within the next 7 days to Melissa so they have enough time to add it, send it to us, and we could, they'll highlight if there's any changes on it to let us know to vote, okay? And moving on to item.
You guys lose Selena too?
Yeah, I lost her too.
Selena, you got muted somehow. Selena, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
So sorry, I'm muted. Can we have a 10-minute break, please, after the adjournment so we could go to the restroom and everything before we start the work session? So can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I move to adjourn.
Seconded.
All right, perfect. So 10 minutes, it is 9:47. So on 8:57, we'll come back, okay?
All right, thanks everyone.
All right, pause yourself and work session right after this, okay? Thank you. 8:56. So we have about 60 seconds for us to start the next meeting, okay? I'm going to be calling to order the budget work session for Mayor Council. This is a virtual meeting, and it just follow our work session. We went into 10-minute recess because we have been in meetings from the hearing work session, and now this one's in 7. Consult at 9:30, right? 7, 8, 9, about 9:30. Hopefully it doesn't take so long. I'm going to do a checkup with you guys to figure out if we need to move this part of the meeting to a different day, okay? So it's going to be up to you guys, all right? All right, so I'm going to call this meeting to order at 8:58 p.m. Jimmy Tarlow? You're muted, Jimmy.
Here.
Luke Chesek?
Here.
Valerie Woodall?
I'm here.
Jerry Stolfus?
I'm here.
The only one that had the mic, I wait until the end. I will have call upon you first, Jared. All right, perfect. We have all 5 of us present. For the record, the full body's here. Okay, so we're going to do item number 2, review of the agenda. Vice Mayor Stolfus, can you please review the agenda?
Absolutely. Agenda for the proposed FY24 budget work session, the mayor and city of Mount Rainier. Sorry. Tuesday, April 18th, 2023, following the work session. Items for discussion: number 1, call to order. Number 2, review of the agenda. Number 3, proposed fiscal year 2024 budget review. Number 4, adjournment.
Okay, thank you so much. Constance, there's something specifically you would like to, I guess, delete or add? There's not much to delete. To this agenda, please let us know. We're good with the agenda, move forward as is. I'm hearing nothing, so I will say yes. All right, so we have a working agenda in front of us. Vice Mayor Stolfus, we have definitely put you to work extra this day. I know we're wrapping up the work extra now that it's coming down to 1 month before you are former vice mayor. All right. So moving on to item number 3, proposed fiscal year FY24 budget review. The mayor and council review the proposed budget FY2024 budget. All right. So Kamali or Ron Wilson, if you're there, is there something I'm going to cede the floor to you guys, and then how do you call it? We'll open it up to the next discussions that we have carry through from the last meeting, including the last work session meeting that happened 11 minutes ago. All right, go on, Kamali or Ron.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. As you see in this document, so the changes that were requested by Mayor and Council, we made those, changes, and I'm gonna let Ron to take over because I'm still coughing and I cannot read those highlighted for you. So I'm sorry, Ron. Are you there, please?
Yes, I'm here.
So, Ron,
Okay.
make sure you read that line item number and what it is. And what department ideally is on as well, because if somebody's following up with a budget book, they know what these changes are, because I don't see a page to this. Ideally, if you guys could put a page, it will help. If not, we visually have to see the page so that way we see the change. and these changes have been made in the last update that is on the city website. Mr. Kamali, do you know that?
It is, we have posted the changes as of yesterday or today. I'm sure it is.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So go to the City of Rainier MD website, and you should be able to find the information there to follow up with us. And it was also a part of the package as well. All right, go ahead, Ron Wilson.
Okay, so what you're seeing here is a log of the changes that have happened since the version that was first done in 325. So tonight I will read the items that have changed between the 414 version, which is the current one, and the one that was discussed on 4.6. So the first change is to line item 4209 CDMA fees revenue. We reevaluated this, and we have added $2,092 to this line item, so that the total revenue changes in this version of the budget are $2,092.
Mayor, should we wait for to the end for questions?
Since it's only a few that we could answer right now, but I wanted Ron to clarify what the CDMA fees were and what percentage the city has.
So
because it's not very clear, because I want to make sure people are clear that this is basically our fee percentage. Go on. And Jimmy, if you have a question regarding this, we could go ahead and ask it. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, so this fee revenue is the 10% of the CDMA fees that the city retains for its administrative efforts, and the other 90% goes to the Mount Rainier Business Association.
All right, perfect. Jimmy, was it regarding this specific item?
Just that it's come to my attention that the city hasn't really been doing all the billing, including this billing for the property owners who have businesses as tenants are also supposed to get billed. So this item might be a little more.
Well, we're actually going through that process right now,
okay.
Jimmy.
Okay, I'm fine. Thank you. I'm fine, Mayor.
We got it, Jimmy,
we expected.
Okay, only one of you guys speaking. I heard Jimmy, you say you're fine. Ron, you say you got it, and I think I hear Kamali. Kamali, what are you gonna say?
Yes, I just want to let Jimmy know that we got the business owner and the property owner fees for FY22 and 23. Ron and I are working on it. We got the list from Alma, and we will be processing and invoicing the property owner and the business owners next week. And I promise you, we're going to get it done.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. And Jamie, I also sent an email. Part of this is good for us to find out what it is. The other reason why they also sometimes delay in sending the amount is because there's delayed on people paying their fees, which means that finance will only cut the check for the fees that have been paid. And there is still quite a bit of people that have not paid. I think that goes back to the point that Alma was making in the earlier meeting on why the importance of making sure that this is happening. Because I did ask what was the number of businesses that had currently paid, and they did send it. And they did send that information over because we were trying to figure out. They asked me when were the check going to be cut for that as well. All right, so Mr. Kamal, you said like next week you will have more information for us, right?
Sure, we will have everything squared away by next week, hopefully. As long as the rest of the businesses pay their dues, and that's the problem, as Mayor mentioned it. And unfortunately, that's why we had to ask for the recommendation from code to increase the fines. Then hopefully we're going to be able to collect all the fees by February 28th of each year.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so go on to the next one. Ron, this under expenses, correct? Go on.
Sure, under the expense category, line 5107, retirement contribution for the mayor and council department. We have put back the $1,040 that we had previously taken out in an earlier revision. Line 5648, Police Advisory Board. This is in the Administrative Services Department. We are reducing that budget line from $3,000 to $2,000. Likewise, for the 5649, the Rent Stabilization Board in the Administrative Services Department, we are increasing their budget from $1,000 to $2,000. So that's a $1,000 increase. And then finally, in the contingency, 5598 line item, which is in the other department, we are increasing that line item from 56,646.03 to 57,698.03, or an increase of $1,052. The total expense changes are $2,092, and that's equal to the revenue changes. So the net impact on the budget is zero.
Ron, what 1,052 went into contingency? Can you let me know?
It's the amount that was left over after all the other changes. So
okay.
it would be easily, it would be adding $2,092 for the CD&A fee revenue and taking away $1,040 for the retirement contribution. That'll get you to the 1,052.
Okay, and ideally by next week, you guys will have better numbers when it comes to CD&A fee in case we need to adjust anything, correct?
Well, I think this number for the 24 budget will stand, but yes, we will reevaluate it as we complete the billing for fiscal 23.
Okay, so can we put a mark on it so we could revisit it in case we need to adjust numbers from that? The reason why I was asking why is it the contingency, can you put the contingency number up? Because it looked like an increase instead of decrease, and I thought we were going to take money, the 1040 that was taken out.
We took 1040 away from the contingency.
I'm so sorry, because of the line it is.
Yeah,
okay.
And then added back for the 2,092.
Okay, so go down to the next page. Continue.
Okay, so the contingency is the last adjustment. So the total expense change by 2,092, which is equal to the revenue change, so it nets to zero. There is no impact on a surplus or deficit.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so there's one line item I do have a question. Can you move it up regarding the meetings? And I apologize, I moved my budget. I don't have it in front of me right now. Oh, hold on. When it comes to the city sponsor meetings, 5505, can you let us know what specifically that is?
Offhand, I do not recall. I know that, Kamali.
Go ahead, Kamali.
Yeah, Mayor, what was the question? Why we reduce it from 5,500 to 2,500?
No, I said, can you give us a description of what line item 5505, what is the city sponsor meetings? I apologize, I picked up the wrong edition of the budget. I have whatever you guys have virtually right now. So if you guys go back to the summary of the budget, what does it says? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I believe that line item belongs to the sponsor meeting in the council budget. If I'm not mistaken, just, let me check it and make sure. I guess what I want to find out, Mr. Kamali, usually each council member, the mayor gets X amount of money to be able to do meetings, right? Is that the money we're referring to? And if that's the money, I might need to talk to my colleagues about that, because I thought it was for a different purpose. No, that's the purpose, and I believe that on March 25th, you told us to reduce it to $2,500. I don't think it was my suggestion. It was probably one of my colleagues' suggestions. So okay. I'll go ahead and have a conversation about that one with my colleagues. Yeah, thank you. Because council members usually, I think it was 1,000 for each of you guys, 1,500, I believe, for meetings that you guys could do. In the past, I'll give you an example, right? If you're working with, let's say, if you guys if you were having meetings with the community, right?
you could go ahead and utilize some of the funds to have it. In the past, we have been able to support, like, some senior programming or activities that we want to create as part of the things that we do. That's what the money is used. 1 year we wiped it out completely and then we regretted it.
Yeah.
So at this point, 2,500 will be split between kind of all of us. So it comes out to at least maybe 500 each or something like that. So I will say reconsider that one for us to put it back to 5,500. Take some money of the contingency and put it there, because if for whatever reason we're running a program and it runs a little over, it allows for us to be able to fulfill the little hole. Or as an example, right?
Okay.
When we needed money for a program, like, if we needed money for an example, one of the activities that wasn't part of our stuff, this is the way you're doing it. And the way I see it, I definitely need the money, because if I'm inviting the junior mayors to come to vote for Spring Park, right? The snacks and chips and whatever trinkets that we have fall under that. And also I do a lot of school visits. Some of the trinkets fall under City Hall, but they also fall under that. So I would say reconsider putting that one back. And if the customers do not want it, that's fine. If you want your line item to go back to 500, but if not, I definitely want mine to stay where it was at. Okay. So do you guys have any question about what that line item is or no? Or do you guys even knew it existed?
Can I say something, Mayor, after that? Well, the changes was given to us by Luke on 405, and that line item city sponsor meeting was reduced to 3,000, not 2,500. That's our overlook. So we went by those changes that was mentioned on March 25th, but we definitely go ahead and put it back if you guys wanted to.
Yeah, my apology. I didn't want to imply that you changed it on your own. I said we changed it. I don't think we really realized why we were as well. So and the other thing is, like, I don't see the headings in the top, Mr. Kamali. That's what was drawing a little bit confused. You see how like this? I see the numbers you're talking about, but if you guys could do the heading for each of the like put expense and what it looked like, so when you guys read it across, it's easier for us to follow it. It definitely will help us a little more, because right now there's just like 4 numbers across with no heading in the top, and that's where I see where the stuff are at. But to make it easy, I would say just if we could put it back, Council, and then just remove it from the contingency, so it's a clean cut and we do not mess with anything else. Okay.
Sure.
All right. So anything else that was from the last thing? I want to make sure you guys have your time, Ron and Mr. Kamali, before we discuss the streets and sidewalks 150 and the Gateway CDC granting. That'd be the next item, correct?
Right.
Okay, Ron Wilson, anything else to add to this?
No, Mayor.
Okay, so let me open up the next discussion that we've been going back and forth, because we want to make sure that we comply with the proper ruling, right? As you guys are aware, there is we're trying to help fund the CDC project. Valerie, I'm going to see the first equipment a little bit more, right? They had asked for funding for 3 years of funding for an amount. It's not 150 each year, definitely not. And the cost was going to be, it was 100,000 split basically between Mount Rainier, Brentwood, and North Brentwood. And right now, if I'm correct, Brentwood or Brentwood are in talks of approving some of the funding, pending also that we do it, so that was collectively, right? And stage 1 is approving, but part of that stage is also submitting what requirements are going to be attached with that money. I know both cities are working on that right now. Brentwood and North Brentwood, when it comes to, we're going to facilitate the money, and this is what we need when it comes to, our reporting with ARPA. Kamali's quarterly reports that the ARPA funding that they give you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So if we want to line it up with the quarterly reports as ARPA, or, that's something that we could do. I believe that's what the other cities are doing, but also strongly targeted into asking what specifically they're going to be doing in our city. a whole complete proposal, what it looks like, is specifically not for the 3 cities, but for us. So that way, when they turn the report to Kamali in this instance, right? We're able to follow through what programming they've done, what work they have done that directly impacts, and how many impacts it has helped our immediate artists. Because from my understanding, the other cities, that's what they're doing. They want to know specifically, they're going to give how will specifically impact their artists to help and support. They love us dearly, but I want to make sure that the money they give, it goes to helping their immediate artists as part of the project, right? So we had originally decided to put it in ARPA, right? But ARPA guidance is like, it has to up to a bidding, and the only way we could put it out to bidding is open it up to any CDC that has work in the city, and from then select based on whatever guidelines we decide to put together. And it could have gone to CDC Gateway or Northern Gate Gateway or any other gateway or nonprofit. You define what a CDC was, right? So we decided in the, can you please mute the mic?
No.
They might have left, but I don't see whose mic was open. But in saying that, how do you call it? We decided to revisit it, and from the last meeting that happened a few, earlier today, right? 30 minutes ago, whatever, we decided to put to reconsider and potentially move some of the funding, some, not all. That's what we want to make sure clear. 150,000 of the streets and sidewalks into ARPA. That's work that the city subcontracts somebody to do it, but it's led by the city, right? And do the Gateway CDC funding under our budget. I think that's the brief summary. I'm gonna go with Valerie and Luke in case I'm missing something. Valerie, is that, and Luke, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, that's correct. And thank you all for working with me on this. I think it's a really strong collaboration that we're forming between the city of Mount Rainier, Brentwood, and North Brentwood as well, with each entity contributing to the Gateway CDC. And, having them then come back on a quarterly basis with reports to stress what they've done and their leverage that they're pulling in. I think there's a lot of opportunity for leverage with the Gateway CDC right now, given that the University of Maryland just opened up their creative placemaking minor. There's a lot of resources that they could pull from that and other potential as well. So I'm looking forward to funding them and then, watching them grow and build. And for example, like one of the events that are specifically happening in Mount Rainier is that like April 27th begins their guest speaker series at the Gateway Media Arts Lab, which will bring artists and people into the city of Mount Rainier to hopefully go to the Gateway Media Arts Lab, maybe try Capital Bike Share, go for dinner, go for lunch, things like that. So that's the economic aspect of that as well. So that and your summary of how we're thinking about moving the funds is good as well. And I'll stop there and let Luke talk if you want as well.
Okay, so Luke, just the first part is like, I summarized basically what just happened in the last meeting and this meeting above it and right now, correct? So we're all in the same page, right?
No, I have a question. So I understood the ARPA thing, but I understand the 150,000 was over. Is it all right for me to speak, Mayor? Last question?
You could. The only thing I wanted to make sure that Luke told me, if Luke is thumbs up, Luke like covered at least the summary, and then we could go to your question to further discuss. So I just want to make sure the first layer was done. Luke, we're good? Yes?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, Jimmy, go ahead.
So I understand the ARPA appropriation, but in terms of our budget, I don't quite understand, because this $150,000 was not over 1 year. So if we give $150,000 for 1 year, they're supposed to spend all the money in 1 year, and this is actually for multiple years. So shouldn't it be better for us to do a portion of that? So in other words, if we appropriate $150,000 in fiscal year 24, then wouldn't they have to spend all that money now? And this is not, our idea was not to appropriate all the money for this year. So I'm a little confused on that. I understand with ARPA because we were appropriating the amount that was going to be spread over a couple of years. But I'm not sure how we do that in the city budget.
Good question, Jimmy. That is definitely, they have to turn receipts by wrap it up ideally by June 31st, June 30. So I will go ahead and that was Jimmy's questions. And we go just as a point for just to clear out, we could definitely decide to assign 50-50-50. That's what we want. Well, it's a little bit because every council decides to do what they want, but we could do 50-50-50 or break it down. But usually they will have to spend that money during that year. That is correct if it goes into our budget. Luke, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is not like a reimbursable thing where they're giving us receipts that they have to spend. This is a one-time $150,000 just gift to the Gateway CDC that they're going to use towards the investments that they've cited. This is not something that they're going to be sending receipts to us and getting reimbursed from. This is a one-time $150,000 grant to them to do everything they said they were going to do.
So
just the grant is then based on over 3 years, right? In other words, we're giving them money up front, but originally it was $60,000, as I remember.
Yeah.
Correct. So the question is, this is money we're giving them this year, but for over the next 3 years, it's not going to be extra money that's going to come back for the following year.
Right. They're not getting any more money from us. It's a one-time investment in them, and how they choose to use that money over the next 3 years should be as they projected it to us. But whether, they're going to have money from us, they're going to have money from Brentwood, and they're going to mix and match that to design it in a way that will make the organization run a little bit better.
So Valerie, can you clarify for me something? Are the other cities giving the whole money up front, or they're only doing the small portion each? Because my understanding is they're only doing the small, the every year they're releasing the money, they're not releasing it up front. Because my whole thing is we could release the whole money up front, but what I mean, in what way? I mean, they really don't. I don't know how to say it in words, but if they're supposed to be doing quarterly reports and we do not like where this is going, if they waste $150,000 the first quarter, then what happens? Or there's nothing that we could potentially say okay, we have concerns about this, right? Let's figure out how we could evaluate what this year went, and this is what we need to focus. Another way to do it is get the 150 divided between 3 years. We could do the first year 60, then 30, when 40, then 30 to complete the 150. That could be a way to go about it as well. But I don't know if I'm ready to be here's 150 and I'll see you every 4 months to report with nothing else attached to it.
So I think, the proposal that was put before Mayor and Council was an allocation of $150,000 split over the course of 3 fiscal years. And so if this Mayor and Council only want to give, and ideally we had said 180,000 so that we got to a better level. So if we wanted to do 60,000 each year, but we can't, I think the challenge there, and this is where, Selena, you've had concerns, is that each council has to decide, how that funding is released every year. But in order to create continuity and stability for the Gateway CDC, having that intention behind the contribution is really key, because if they can say to the state, where they just got state funding for their studio lab project, which will help local artists, stay or build into their current locations. Those kinds of programs, they need that stability and staffing in order to continue to build on that program and the capital funding and all that. So I think if we're afraid to tell future council, seats and people that, we want this to continually be funded for 3 years, then, we should allocate all of it now. If we think that there's a good chance that we're going to continue to fund them, and I'm more than happy to take a vote. If I'm personally, I'd be happy to continuously take votes to do that. But if we can say that we are generally supportive for the next 3 years, and this is the general allocation of 150 or 180,000 over the course of 3 years, I think that's okay. I also think, I don't know if this is possible, but I also wonder if it's possible to allocate the funds this year and then hold back, but I don't know if that's possible in the city budget to do that.
So what we could also do, Valerie, is like we could always give them a check, hear the report, so we could cut 3 checks in the year if we want to, or 2 checks or 20 checks. It doesn't matter, right? So that's something that we could do, but I'm not there to be like, here's 150 and, go on, right? Because the reality is, it's like, even if, we said, okay, we'll give them the money and they could just give the perimeters, go on. I think there has to be some accountability in our end because it's like city tax money, and I need to make sure that when they go to Mr. Kamali and report, right, this information to him. And if they say Mr. Kamali says, I have a concern of X and Y, right? So we're taking every power for our city manager and finance team to say, hey, we have a concern, or, the idea is to work in partnership, right? So, as far as to say this is what we need. I know some of us that talk about some of the programming that we would like to see, for them to also take on, right? I happen to be with some of the cultural and programming, and, tie up with the artists and stuff like that, right? So my whole thing is I'm not there to be, here's a $150,000 check and be done. I think that's not the way this was formatted, right? It's supposed to be formatted in a way where we've seen the continuous process, right? There's going to be at least 3 of us until 2025, right? So at 3 votes it takes for us to pass is, we have 3 votes of 3 continuous people that are still going to be there. And, so that's all you really need, right? But I feel more I feel more comfortable if we decide to break out the payments. If we could decide this what it is, if you guys want to do it in 1 year, because that's what you guys all want, I would say break it down into different payments, because at least that will go at least to 4 reports if it's quarterly, in order to figure out if this is where we're at and have any additional input. But the other cities are, my understanding, they're not cutting a check for 3 years all at once. They're doing it based on how it goes every year, how do you call it, putting money forward.
May I
Jimmy,
suggest something?
I'll talk to Jared, because I haven't heard from Jared as well, but go ahead, Jimmy.
I mean, I kind of agree with you, but I was wondering if we could just draft a resolution about our commitment to the Gateway CDC over the next 3 years, and that we appropriate, we in the ordinance that we appropriate 60,000, depending on, we could draft something so the CDC sees that we're committed to it, obviously given, exceptions, but we actually budgeted next year. In other words, that, we drafted ordinance, it's depending on, we can't commit, the 3 of you are on the council, these that, that there be kind of a resolution committing the commitment of the Mount Rainier Council, Mayor and Council to support the Gateway CDC. We're kind of doing something over the next 3 years, depending on implementation by the budget. So there's something in writing, but we actually only appropriate the $60,000 this year. 60,000 over 3 years is actually 180,000, which is actually more than the 150,000.
So I'm gonna ask Jared to speak because he hasn't said nothing, but I will say to you that based on what we have heard, recommendations is every year we have to allocate the funding, and we cannot red tape any, including $1 million Senate fund. Every year, basically, we have to reallocate those funds and nothing solid. So we cannot say we're reallocating 6% every year. Every year, literally, we have to vote on 6% for street and sidewalks. It's also because in case of any economic downfall, we're not tying ourselves to something that we're promising or tying the collected to it. So that's something that, for whatever reason, if there's economic depression coming and that's not a commitment that we could fulfill, it could also damage. That's the reason why we have to it's zero. And the budget actually zeroes out at the end of June 30. So if you don't spend the funds, too bad, right? It goes into general fund, but that's the reason why. But go on, Luke. I see your hand raised. Oh, sorry, Luke. I am so sorry. Jared, go ahead, and then Luke, because I want to make sure I hear Jared. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be, to be honest with you, I'd be in favor of us doing a single grant so we can commit to the, demonstrate commitment, and then have, some some ongoing accountability for it. I just, I prefer not to kind of revisit this year after year. If we're trying to, the whole point of this is to get Gateway CDC and provide some ongoing programmatic support and continuity so the Gateway CDC is able to scale up and stand on its own. So that's just my preference. And I'd also wanted to just acknowledge Nina Young's. Thanks for sticking on so late till 9:30. And that's I was thinking this too, because we did this in the federal government. We'd obligate a grant from a single year's funds, and then you could disperse it over multiple years. But to Luke's point, as he said, every budget stands its own, and next year's council must have the power to change the budget as it pleases. So thank you, Nina, for that question. Thank you, Luke, for the feedback on that. But I prefer to create some guaranteed continuity, guaranteed a gateway to provide them the stability in the year-to-year allotment. Thank you.
Go ahead, Luke.
We could do what we did. This brings up a whole nother issue that I don't know if it's in this budget. We passed, this is kind of to Jimmy's point, we passed an ordinance mandating that the city manager, every year, the city manager must allocate in the budget. Doesn't mean we have to pass it, doesn't mean it gets passed, but the city manager in their proposed budget must allocate funding for maintenance on art murals, tree work that gets funded from whatever fees we collect from trees or impervious pavement. And there may have been a third one. But we could do that here. We could say that the city manager must allocate in their proposed budget X amount for the Gateway CDC for the next 2 years following this year's allocation of $50,000 or $60,000 if we wanted to do it that way.
So I would like to read the ordinance, Luke, because I don't think he must, because I think something along those lines in the ordinance reads like if for whatever economic reason he doesn't have to. I think I don't know if it's, so let's read that fine lining, because we were also instructed that we couldn't redline money for certain amounts. So he could potentially do it, but I think that if the city manager comes to us and says like, look, there's an economic depression and that is not happening because of this reason, then he doesn't have to. The priority is like for him to put it there, but if that's the difference between keeping the city running and doing a project, he will have to like recommend towards like, keeping the city running. Yeah. So let's be very careful with that one. We might have to get advice from our team on that. But I think that's the thing. The other thing is like, the problem, even if 3 of us are there now that I think about it, is if for whatever reason, one of us decides to leave, now we're tying up whoever's taking our seat to whatever we decided on this year. So that's something that becomes very complicated. It's not as easy on it. And Nina, I was gonna have the discussion with council and then open up to the community. But yeah, the federal level and the municipal level is they deal with money a little bit different. And do be aware that also the city, their budget heavily, not 10%, like heavily, depends on city taxes collected from properties, in this case, like homeowner property. And that's kind of where it's at. So we don't have a big diverse taxes. So if there's a economic depression where our residents cannot pay their taxes, we will feel it very strongly on this. And that's the reason why we had an ultra conservative budget through COVID, because of the main reason. We didn't know how impacted we were going to be. Want to make sure that day to day was able to carry on. So it was extremely conservative. And that included that we cut off a lot of things, like we reduced a lot of things like, like sidewalks and different programming to make sure that we were able to keep the city afloat. And then we put it back when we saw we were fine. But that's something that we definitely need to take into account. So yeah. Valerie, I see your hand is raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like the proposal Luke puts together about moving some of the street and sidewalk capital projects over to ARPA and taking those funds and putting it into the Gateway CDC. If we do it this year, and we, go 4 months down the road and they put together the worst, the most horriblest, presentation ever. And we don't like where they're going with anything. We can split the payments through the year if we have to, where the first tranche of allocation is 60,000 or 50,000, say in July, and then the next tranche is in December or something like that, so that we have accountability. I have no doubt that they will put together great things. We've put it in the proposal, the leverage they can potentially access. We know that they can put together, a good report and come back to us with specifically how they're benefiting Mount Rainier, and each of the towns as well. So, I'm comfortable with the proposal that Luke put together, and I'm happy to move forward with that if others are as well.
Okay, so at this point, there's very proposals on the table. I think Kamali definitely needs to go check with our team to figure out what we can do and cannot do, because I don't want to overpromise in this meeting. This is a discussion. Let's figure out what we can get across, because what we could easily do is 50, as you said, like on July 1st, right, for them to work with that, get that three reports or 4 report, and then in June of like next year, we could release the other amount if we choose to. That's going to be, so that way they have consistency for the fiscal year as they wanted. So we're not impeding that. And we could release another check in June, but that also gives like track record to figure out. But I need something that I keep asking and I have not seen, and I really need a Valerie. I do need to see the list of those 289 artists that are in the city that accounted for us being split the amount that we did. So I think it's important for us to get that information as a city, because I have asked our team and nobody has that information. So we're not even sure where those 289 came from, and that's something that I know you guys put together and as part of the Gateway CDC team. So we definitely need to know if that information is also provided to us, so that way internally we know, who are the artists are in the city that are going to be benefiting of this. And also for me, it's important not just to those 289, but as people flow in and flow out of the city, right? That if we also have new artists coming, they know where to go. So what's the program also when it comes to like helping new artists are moving into the city or here that don't even know that this is even a benefit they could do for, because a while we had the Northern Gate CDC working, which was a couple of cities, including some of the artists of Mount Rainier. And then you had the Gateway CDC that included Hyattsville at one point. And then Hyattsville, as of X amount of years, they pull off to do their own thing. And I think that if an artist lives in Hyattsville, but has a studio somewhere else, they could potentially also get help, right? So that's something that we definitely need to coordinate, because we do have artists that either have this studio in one city and live in the other, that to make sure that, we figure out what that looks like. But to me, that's kind of where I'm at. I think that if we decide to do the first 50 and then wait for the reports and wait what June looks like in order to make sure that that we're accountable to the community, because now you're talking about city taxes. And yeah, I will tell you that the roster that Code has is, I don't even think it reaches to 10. That gives you a small, because various people in the community were very surprised where this number came from. And I couldn't answer them, so I've been waiting to answer to figure out what that is. But
yeah, it's in the R&D management software.
I think Kamali will have to talk to our team if we decide to do the split checks, or if the other document that Luke had mentioned, for us to make sure we have a clarity of what could potentially be done and what cannot do, so that we have better information on that, Luke. Because I think there was a clause that specifically said, it didn't say has to, but it was like must or shall, one of them, right? Because it sure didn't tie the city to do something they couldn't in case other things were happening within the city that will not allow us to do that. I think I moved and you guys froze. My apology. I had to step out. Any comments, Council, before I open it to the public? I definitely, last thing I would say for this is like, we're all being supported. We all want to support the gateway. We're just trying to figure out how to go about and being supportive and also make sure we're accountable to the community when it comes to utilizing city taxes. That's just it. But I think every single one of those is supportive. We just want to know how to go about doing it. And that's where we're trying to like work the details, the little niches of getting this. Okay, Luke, was that you? I apologize, I moved in. You guys froze.
Yeah, I think it would be important if we try to move towards a consensus on at least how we want to change the money in the budget so that at our next meeting, it's there while we work to get this data. And if there's consensus around $100,000 in this budget and it's released twice, great, with the understanding that next fiscal year we'll have to get $50,000 in the budget for it. Fine. If there's consensus around 150, if there's consensus around just 50, I think it's important that we make that changes to the budget because it's a big hit. Either way we do it. And so I can live with any of those really. My lean would be towards giving them more money up front so they can, I think when you have that projected revenue as an organization, it's easier to plan. But I'm fine if we do like the $100,000 this year and we did dole it out in 2 allocations, but whatever you guys want to do. I just think we could probably get the consensus. I don't think more information is going to give us like.
So Luke, your proposal is $100,000 in 2 things. I mean, why don't you make one proposal so we can do it?
So the one proposal that I think folks might be leaning towards is like allocate $100,000 in the budget and it's released in 2 50,000 chunks. One can be released, pick a date, September after we hear from them, and then the other can be released in June of next year. And then we have to allocate, and then with a commitment to Gateway that will, if everything looks good, we'll allocate another 50 in next year's budget. So they get their 150, they get 100 this year and 50 next year.
I'm supportive.
So 2 things. So we're gonna work where we keep organized. So one is the first part of the proposal is move 150,000 into, suggest to move 150,000 from streets and sidewalks into ARPA. And if we're on agreement, we could go ahead and do the first part of it. Are we on agreement to do that?
If
I think Luce was $100,000, not 150.
Yeah, if we're only going to allocate $100,000 to Gateway, then we only need to move $100,000 from streets and sidewalks.
Okay, so thank you so much for that one. So 100,000 towards ARPA with a big note in the budget, because I don't want later future councils to be like, oh, look, they only used 50,000 and they got so much. Because we have been very consistent at keeping about 5 to 6% every year since 2017, right, Luke? We've been very good at committing like X amount of money to street and sidewalks. So can we have an agreement, because we cannot vote, can we have consensus from council collectively that we will move 100,000 into ARPA funding towards being funded for ARPA for street and sidewalks?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Valerie, good. Luke is good. Jared?
Yep.
Jimmy?
Fine.
Okay, so Kamali and Ron, we heard, right? 100 consensus to on it. So to move it towards the ARPA, we have put it, since we have discussed it and have a consensus on it, Luke, I think it's safe enough to say that you could put it towards the voting, the 100,000 towards the voting, okay? So let's put it right there. And once again, if we put it there and we decide, if we get $100,000 grant to do streets and sidewalks tomorrow, the money could be reallocated. So right now we're making that one. So go ahead and add it. So Melissa, make a note of it as well. All right, so that was step 1. Step 2 was the proposal to do ideally 2 checks, 50,000 up front, 50,000 first, go through the quarterly report. So therefore you should have 4 reports by the time it gets to next year to the city manager, right? And then we'll cut the other check on the June mark, and then we'll work with the budget to add the other 50 if this is what the council decides to do. But at least they'll have 100,000 within 1 fiscal year if everything works out fine, right? Saying this, we still need to work on the details of what we're going to be asking for the reporting, what we need them to also focus on when it comes to the money, and what is it that we're asking them to report on, so that way Kamali, his team has the clarity of what he's looking forward to, and they also have clarity of what it looks like. Valerie, I did see your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's good. It's in, I'll recirculate it, but it's in the proposal that was already submitted, what specifics they're going to provide. And then I just would ask if the schedule would be the 2 tranches of funding be one like in July, like so it's early on so they can start really pushing forward. And then the next one be like next spring or next June or something or whatever. But just so they have time to kind of build that into their schedule.
Yeah, because they'll be fine. Because remember, they're asking for 50,000 for next year, right? So if we do the money this year, and even if we do it in June, right? They were expecting it in July of like FY2025, right? Which means that it still be early because it has to be done before June 30. Even if June 30, like we cut the final check, right?
Right.
But I will tell you this: I understand they give us a proposal what they want to do, but now we collectively need to figure out if there's something else we want to add to that proposal.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I need to make sure that we also get what we need from the funding that we're requesting on it. Because I'm telling you this, every other city is doing it. And I don't want us to sit down and be like, oh, Brentwood requested this, North Brentwood requested this, and Rainier basically went with whatever this is, right? So we will definitely, if you could circulate that proposal, please send the 289 artists that are on it, because are they being determined by the Gateway CDC, what's it called, membership to the Gateway location in Rainier? Is that how they're being determined?
No, it's the Gateway Arts District Art Beat Management Software. I will ask for the specific list of artists, but yes.
So I think we're on agreement to do it that way, right? If everything works out fine, July, and also how do you call it, June of next year. Yes, we're more or less in agreement. Okay, and Kamali, you'll work with we'll have a work session to work between us to figure out what is it that we would like to see. I obviously invite some of the artists to tell us like what is it that they see they need as well. So that way this proposal is composed with us and them in mind. And that way, Kamali, you'll have better sense of what you're looking when it comes to reporting. But we definitely would like to see, once this funding is, the Gateway themselves coming to talk to us, not just Valerie, I love you to death, but they also need to be able to come to us just like they've done in the other times, okay? Because one of the things that I talked to you and I talked to Marcus is like, given that this funding, I also need to make sure that the 3 council members from the cities get some breathing time to be liaisons and work, because a lot of the heavy load also is dependent on you guys as well to get this done. And every time I asked you guys, I could see the 3 of you guys looking at me like, we'll get this delivered to you like we promised, and you guys get to work. So I do appreciate that as well, your patience and your leadership on this, okay? So we'll have a work session and then, between May and June to figure out what is it that we want to add to the proposal that we need from Gateway. So that way it's a clear partnership of what is it that we will see, and have the artists come to that meeting and let us know what they will seek and help when it comes to the Gateway and where they vision. Because the Gateway did get $30,000, $300,000, correct, to be able to form a couple of other projects. If we could have a presentation, what is the money being utilized for in our cities, that'll be great as well. Because I've been asked, because the news is like spreading wide already. So that way we know what that 300,000 is going to be used, and at the same time, what our funding is going to be used. So they have good city money right now, and I know they're going to be applying for more city money to do even more items. Okay, so we have a consensus so far. Can we move on to this point to a different one? Because I do have a question regarding the budget that I didn't see, and I might have missed. I apologize for that. The strategic planning, was that part of the budget or part of ARPA? Luke, do you have this answer, Kamali?
It is in our budget, and it's in the line item that we have for professional contracts, which is line item in the City Hall. Ron and I talk about this, and that should be there.
But is it on this budget, Mr. Kamali, or is it FY23 or FY24 budget?
23, ma'am. And we have some room in 24 too.
The only reason why I asked is because at this point we haven't done that. And either we need to do it, or B, be conscious that we might have to do a budget amendment or decide to allocate that same amount of money into, how do you call it, into the budget to make sure we get it done on the FY24 budget. Because we literally have 2 months to like put meetings to get stuff together and put a bid proposal. We might be running out of time for this year to get done. So that's the reason why I wanted to make sure that if it's not gonna be done this year, right, we either A, allocate more money for that line item for next year. One, how much the amount is there right now, Kamali?
Right now, it's something around $20,000 to $22,000 in FY23. I just have to confirm my numbers.
That's fine. And for FY24, how much do you have right now?
In FY24, around the same number we projected, $19,000 to $20,000.
Okay, so let us know what the number is, Kamali, for the next meeting, ideally. So we need to, if we're not going to do it this year, I would like for us to allocate the same amount to make up that gap between what you guys put and not, or if you tell me, Mayor, like, you know, I know we did it, we were going to split between 20 now and 20, then it should be 40. That's something that we definitely need to know to make sure that we plan accordingly, because I'll tell you this, having a strategic plan done, including like our logo, because I love you all, but there's about 5 logos running around for the city of Rainier. It's not very productive. I did saw how Chevrolet did a strategic plan. They created a new logo and how beneficial was for them. Even when it came to allocating funding for ARPA, it helped them because they had the strategic plan and they hit what they needed to base it on what their strategic plan is. That's not saying that we have not been strategic with us, but it definitely, I know we worked on things that we already knew were important and things that were there like in the previous plan. But I think we definitely need to take on the plan this year and make it a priority to figure out how we strategically see the vision of the city. So that way it makes it more guided towards the staff, towards us, and towards the community when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to things that we're doing, including, I know we had talked about like we have a lot of artists in the city, right? Putting a contest out for artists to redesign our city logo, right? In order for us to have one logo that we could all fall under instead of having, I mean, if you guys look at our business cards, there's at least 4 or 5 different logos running around in the business cards alone. And that's just the business cards, right? But I think it's important for us to focus on that. And if we need extra money on that, we need to consider moving some money there. Mr. Kamali, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. In line item 5400 in City Hall, we estimated $21,000 for FY24 because we thought we're not going to be able to use the money in FY23.
And how much was in 23, Mr. Kamali?
23 was $19,000, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't have it in front of me, but I can look at it and get back to you.
Perfect. Can you do me a favor? Can you make sure that the line item lists it as such a strategic project plan? So that way we know specifically what it's for, because that way it becomes a priority. So can you withdraw it from professional services into that specifically? Because Council, I did request it for us to do our priorities. Ideally, we pass that budget in May, so we could start working on it in June. So that way the team has the summer to start working on some of our priorities. And guiding them, figure out what it looked like. So that when September, we're fully ready instead of waiting for September, because that includes our legislative priorities that those conversations need to start happening. And they already
Mayor, you're cutting out. We can't really hear you.
I am sorry. I'm moving everywhere. So thank you, Mr. Kamali, for that. So if no additional funding needs to be put towards that, then it's fine. If it is, please advise us so that we could separate the line item that reads strategic planning and city logo, I think it was. That's the reason we had a little bit more money last year for that line item. So that would be prioritized and that would start taking shape as soon as possible, because it's going to take some meetings and everything else to get it through. Okay. All right. So anything else you guys see from the budget that you guys need to discuss tonight, or you guys just want to put a pause and come back to this? And it's almost 10 o'clock.
I think we got to finish up as much as we can to be ready to get this thing ready for a reading at our next session. I don't think we have a choice. I think we got to get to like staff salaries and all that stuff.
So I'm sorry, Luke, you cut off. What was it?
I think we need to get to like, well, what are we going to do with staff salaries? I think we need to get this budget to a good point, or else we're going to be changing too much money around too late in the game and have to suspend rules.
So I would say to you, last time we discussed it, there was a proposal that was going to be worked on to potentially do, do more than one alternative. Has the proposal been working? Is ready to be seen today? Because I have not seen it in the documents.
I haven't seen anything in the document, but I think the proposal was from Jimmy to do, I think it was to meet Mayor, your interest in giving, I think your interest was getting more money into the hands of those who don't make that much money here in the city.
I think we're waiting for Ron to come up with a number.
Yeah, I think we were waiting on a dollar amount from Ron. Ron said that we could find money out of moving forward payments on leases to this fiscal year because we have money. And then I think he was going to divide that by the staff to tell us how much money, if we wanted to do a flat raise for everybody so that lower graded employees would get higher percent rate raises than higher graded employees. We would know what that flat amount would be that would go to everybody. But I haven't seen that figure. I think that's what we're waiting.
Okay, I must have lost the thread somewhere because I know that a couple of pieces have gone back and forth with ideas for moving debt service from moving it up into fiscal 23 to release some money. Which one of those did you want to see?
It was the vehicle leases. So we didn't want to push forward the debt spending for the Bass Liquors and the funeral house. It was just the leases, the that you said we could move up those payments for whether it's MRTV or code or public works or whatever. It would be moving, I think it was $40,000 or thereabouts, something like that.
Yeah, it was in the low 40s, yes.
Yeah. So whatever that is divided by the number of full-time employees would be the number of dollars available to each employee if we wanted to give raises.
Yeah, well, let's see, there's 46 employees less the 14 in the FOP. So that would be 32. So it'd be, in the neighborhood of about $1,300 a piece.
Yeah. So for Mayor, for your purposes, like if we did a $1,300 raise for every employee, for somebody in public works making less than $50,000, that would be like a 5% raise for them, or 6% or whatever. It would be a big bump for them. For somebody at like, I'm just going to use Mr. Kamali as an example. It would be like he'd get an extra like 1% or something, or less than 1%. It would be like, for somebody at like, or the chief's position, it would be a lot smaller. So it's sort of trying to meet the difference between, Mayor, your priority in trying to get lower income employees more money, and then I think a priority that was at least stated by me and others, that like all staff should see some additional bump from COLA, and it was a kind of split the baby thing that Jimmy had proposed, and I'm just repeating I think what Jimmy wanted us to get to. And so I'm just throwing that out there to see if there's consensus on that before we cut the budget.
Just a clarification. I think we're all interested in staff getting COLA at least at 3%, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
make sure that that's clear, because it very much sounded like I'm not there, which is never the case. The case was to do 3%, right? And just to backtrack a little bit of history, it was because originally, I guess in the second or third edition, we were told that there was no money because of X reason, right? And I said at least do 3% for everybody, like they're expected to do 3%. And the staff that makes less than 50,000, give them the extra 2%, so that way they can get the 5%. The 5%. So that's important, because I don't want it to come out of here that I did not want to give staff any COLA, because that was never the case. So, right, Council, are you guys prepared to talk about this today, or how are you feeling towards it? Jerry, you have your mic open. I'll go with you.
I think one question, Mayor,
hi, Jamie,
had to do with the amount versus what you're proposing. I think the amount may not be quite that amount of money that we have. So from what Ron is saying, we only have 44,000? I forget the number, but that might be a little bit less than that. But I think a flat amount sounds kind of goes that way, unless there was some other money there that I missed.
So Ron, what was it for the 50% for the people making 50,000 to do the 5%? What was that? I think it was like 8,000 something.
Yeah, I'm going by memory. It was around.
It was 8,000, Mayor.
Yeah,
but
8,200.
But just for clarification, Mayor, a 5% bump for a public works employee would be like an $800 or $900 raise. Under this proposal, they would get like a $1,300 bump, which would be more.
I understand that. So one thing I seem to realize, like, we need to find out the solid number for Ron so that we could figure out what the answer is. If we don't have that solid number, I don't want to put numbers out there and then and then get people hyped out that this is what's going to be and it's not. So because the option was to do 5, the other one was like 3 with additional 2 to people making 50%. The other was Jimmy's, and the other one was like give everybody 3, and then the extra 2% could be decided on whatever else you guys want to do 3%, right? Put it off at 3 for everybody else, right? And then from there on, the additional percentage will be like cut off from the money. So let's say like the 3% ends up to whatever, 30, 40,000, whatever that is. And if we only have 46, they're gonna have to be able to figure out, because basically, this is wrong. You know what? I'll put it in writing so you guys can understand it. It's late. It's 10 o'clock at night, and I have walk to school tomorrow morning. I have to deal with, which I love very much to pieces. I think it's great, but it's going to be a long walk with 2 little children from around my area. I know Valerie knows the feeling. So Ron, can you like work on the number for us to figure out what it is? And I'll go ahead and write more or less what it looks like, because what I don't want is for us to like do numbers in air and the information is not quite there. That way our team has also time to do this without them, throwing a number and they're not sure. I mean, I'm looking their faces going like, we'd rather be sure, because I already saw 3 numbers I've heard. So I'd rather not do it until they give us a concrete information.
I'm happy to put any analyses together that you would like. I just need to know what it is you want to say.
So we'll put it in writing, Ron, so that way it makes it a little more clear. And I understand, the budget hearings go on for a long time. So, and you guys are doing a lot of other stuff. I fully understand that. So, Council, can we pause this until we get the numbers and also give Ron the 3 proposals so we could have the analysis of all of 3 or 4, whatever it is, so we could have a conclusion to this? Yay?
Sure. I don't know what 3 proposals are. I think we're working towards 1. So I'm not sure. I don't understand what you mean by 3 proposals.
So one of them, he already knows what it'll look like for 5%, what it'll look like for 3% plus a 2.5. He already has those 2. I want it all in a chart. That's basically what I need. And then the other one, the one that Jimmy was talking about. So Jimmy, if you could put, or Luke, you put that in a paragraph, so that way he has the 3rd proposal on it. So that way we could like work on those 3 proposals in front of us. So two of them, they already gave us information. It'll be just the 3rd one. He wants to specifically, what is it that we're seeking in order for him to be able to give us the information?
Yeah, I'll just put that 3rd one then in writing.
Okay. And if you look at it and see if there's a combination of something you guys want to do, go ahead and ask him. But that way he knows where we're asking him, because I definitely, I don't think it was 100% clear, and we'll work on that. Okay, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I'll help out any way that I can.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that what I do has value to the council.
No, and thank you for that. Okay, so Council, is there anything aside from that we need to talk about today that you guys could think of?
Yeah, one more thing. I mentioned it at the budget hearing on the Saturday, and I don't see it reflected in this budget. I would really like for right now in the budget, we have like 3 different line items for streets and sidewalks. We have streets and sidewalks, 500,000. Street resurfacing is like $120 or something. And then traffic calming is another like $80-something thousand. And I think with our streets and sidewalks study, like those things are all going to be mixed together. Like you're going to have a street that's going to be recommended for improvement, and it may have traffic calming on it, it may have street resurfacing. That's going to be true throughout the city. So I think instead of having different line items, I think it would make sense to just put to just call it streets and sidewalks, includes resurfacing and includes traffic calming. They can make that note in the budget so it's clear, and just have all that money combined into one bucket so that we don't get into like, we only have 86,000 for traffic calming. If the traffic calming costs 100,000 and it's a part of a $200,000 project, that should all just be in one line item. So I think we should just consolidate those into one line item, or else it gets too confusing.
I'm sorry. I would rather them be separately, and we need to do budget amendments and move them, Luke, because that way, you know, at least like those are the minimum set if they need to. But they could always come up to us and say, hey, we need something. There's so contingency money in case they need extra more. Because I'll tell you this, none of that is cheap. So I highly doubt that they're going to come back and be like, oh, we have 100,000 just laying around for us to not do something. So if we could, what I agree with you is like, I would like to see them in the same location. So they're like next to each other, right? But I would like them in their own bucket line items. So that way we know at the end of the year what was spent in what. And if a budget amendment needs to happen, then we'll go ahead and do that.
I totally disagree. I don't think we should be doing budget because our $80,000 for traffic calming doesn't mean anything. Like we don't even know what our traffic calming proposals are going to be. And we'll know what gets spent on each because each project will have a cost and we can get those costs boiled down. So I would prefer not to cause work on staff and us by having to do budget amendments throughout the year to address this. So I would prefer, and this is just me, if no one else wants to do that, I understand your position, Mayor. I just think they should all be consolidated into one.
And I also, it's up to council, but yeah, I'd rather have them separately so that we know where it's going, one. And two, that if our study, like, we have to be allocating more money when we just have to allocate more money, let's be, you know, but I don't want that decision to be made, okay, now we don't have enough for like, you know, resurface the street because now we're using it on something else, right? So at least we know this is the minimum that we have. And if we need more money, we'll just add more money if we need be. But at least the minimum is hitting each. Go ahead, Jamie.
This seems to be a simple issue one way or another. So Luke, why don't the next meeting make a proposal and we can even vote it up or down? Okay, so we don't have to, I mean, I've heard both sides and it's a simple yes or no vote next meeting.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, look, if you could put why said the reason on it, because like it's just Mr. Kamali and Rosie are definitely going to use as much as they can of each of those line items. I have not yet seen Mr. Kamali, even when he was Director of Public Works, come back and said, oh, I have $1 left from sidewalks. He'll be like, and there's like one more like ounce that I could put to fix. Like he always stretches the dollars to make sure it happens, you know? And I think realistically, we are going to need more funding for some of those in the long run, but that way we know specifically what it goes for. Anyways, put your proposal together and then we'll figure out, but I would say my piece on that. Oh, Council, anything else you guys need to add? Kamali, can I go ahead and ask, or Melissa, whichever you guys, can you guys run a clean copy of the budget with the highlights or whatever it is? So I usually work better with paper copies than I do electronically because it's hard to follow. It's good to have it accessible in case you need it and you're walking around now with your budget, but I like seeing the numbers. I could make also notes. Okay, so I'll go ahead and pick it up. I'll pick it up this week after my night walk tomorrow morning.
We'll have it for you ready.
Right. Perfect. Anything else on the budget, you guys?
No, not for me.
Not for me.
Thank you, Jimmy. Okay, Luke, you're good? All right, can we look at the agenda, Melissa? All right, so moving on to the last item, adjournment. Do you have the events, Melissa, by any chance, to see if we could do a quick read through? Just as a reminder, tomorrow, there are students and families that are going to be walking to school. Please drive extra carefully because you'll see an increase of people walking, biking to school. So be extra careful with that. So Arbor Day is April 28th. And the green team, as well, the city is going to be putting information out of what those are. And that one of them includes April 29, 10 a.m. to 12 on Rogers Park of Arbor Day event. Election is May 1st. Please go out to vote at the Nature Center for Ward 1 and Ward 2 representatives. Month of Peace is May 1st. We usually read a proclamation, and there are various activities going on through the month. Asian American Month is May 1st. We will be having a proclamation for the day as well. Walk, Bike, or Road to School, that is on May. Do we have another one on May 3rd, Valerie?
Yes, because that's the National Bike and Walk, Bike, or Roll to School Day. The school decided to do an additional one this year. So we have 3 opportunities to be outside walking or biking to work and school.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And there's one tomorrow as well. The other one's the community shredding event is May 6th from 9 to 5. Bring 1 box per household of documents that you need to be shredded. This is something that community members have asked repeatedly that they want. So please bring your box to be shredded. The youth scholarship deadline is May 12th. Please apply. There's 7 for $3,000. You submit it to our city clerk. If you have any questions, please reach out to her or me. We're happy to help. Bike to Work Day on May 19. Mount Rainier Day is May 20, and Memorial Day is May 29. And we are, oh, did I miss one? Sorry. And we are gonna be putting the Youth Advisory Board application for this upcoming year is gonna be going out. I believe it's this week or next, Melissa. Melissa?
We can put it out on Monday.
It'll be out on Monday. So there's 5 positions. If you're interested to serve as our first Board of Youth Advisory, the requirements are there. It's basically advising the mayor and council on the various items on the agenda. You guys could put something on the agenda as well to advise us on what information from the youth perspective, okay? So we're looking forward to hearing your thoughts, concerns, and creating activities that are focused towards the youth. All right.
Mayor, no, one missing was the MRB election forum on April 26th.
So April 26th, that's the election forum. And where's it going to take place, Jimmy? Is it going to be just virtually, or there's an in-person part?
It's virtually. I don't know if anybody else. Valerie, you should know.
Yeah, Valerie.
It's virtual.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Because in the past, they have done it at one of the locations. Okay. Thank you for that. All right. So it's going to be virtual, and that is on the April 26th, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much. And Valerie added April 22nd is Growing Green with Pride. Mount Rainier Elementary has a cleanup, green up. There's a PGCPS community meeting with regarding the next CEO. Dr. Golston is retiring, so therefore they're looking for the next CEO. So I want to hear from the community what they want to see and what from the next CEO of the PGCPS, right? 427 speaker series at the Gateway Media Arts Lab. 429 Poetry at the Park, Spring Park. 520 Mount Rainier Day. And then you have 5K in the morning at 8. And 5-2 Spring Carnival at Mount Rainier Elementary. And Cesar Chavez also has a Spring Carnival on May 20. They're definitely reached out already for information sponsorship. So we'll be putting that information out to residents. So I haven't heard nothing from Thomas Stone yet, but if Thomas Stone is doing a carnival, something like that, we'll go ahead and add it to it, okay? And if you guys could do me a favor, Valerie and Jimmy, anything else that we didn't mention there, and I'll do the same thing, send it to Melissa so that way they could update it with her team to the calendar, and they could put information out if we have something, okay? All right, so council, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Seconded.
It's been probably moved in second. Any discussion? Objections, abstentions? Okay, you guys, hearing none. I will see you on the next meeting. And any of you guys that want to walk to school tomorrow, I'll see you bright and early, 7:15, Valerie?
Something like that, yeah. I'll be up.
Actually, like you're late 15 minutes. Yeah,
take a school bus.
I know. Take the school bus. Yeah. But we'll be there, and so looking forward to seeing plenty of the young kids there. And have a good night, everyone. Bye. And thank you for being here as well. Kamali, Melissa, Ron, Rocio, Alma, Chief. I see Cheryl as well. I think I got Jared as well. So thank you guys so much for being here as well, of course, and staying up late with us as well. Then Melissa, thank you also, you and your team, for having the minutes done on time as well. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Night.